Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I'm Bobby, also known as Blazzinbob, and no Mel today. We are joined by Ubiquitous. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a lovely Saturday morning here, down under.
Down under. It's a Friday night for me, so we're on definite different wavelengths.
I've done my second coffee. You can do your second vodka.
Yeah, well, I'm not on to the second yet. I'm just on the first, but I'll get to the second before the end of the show, I am sure. All right, I'd like to start the show off by thanking our tank patrons in Croxford, Turtle Whale, and Braxton. I'd like to mention we do this show live on twitch.tv/Blazzinbob. That's BLAZZINBOB. If you'd like any of our links, Patreon, Discord, the show on different platforms, everything, it's all on warcraftreloaded.com. If you're looking for a Rested XP guide, it's warcraftreloaded.com/RestedXP. Okay, sorry, some weird thing happened at my house. Okay, sorry. All right, how's the show? Oh, yeah, one last thing. And if you want to call in voicemail, it's 816-866-1066 or speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. All right, we're going to start off with the comment of the week. Then we didn't get any voicemails this week. It's a bummer, but you guys should send some in soon. We're going to just talk about what we've been doing in WoW, and then we're going to hit a little bit of news, and then we're going to talk about the survey Ubiquitous has recently done. I believe Josh is taking it right now, and I'm going to take some of the questions. I don't know about all, but we'll see, and we'll see what maybe you guys think too. You can answer along while you're listening. You can leave your answers in the comments below, or you can send us an email. And you can probably leave your comments on Spotify now too, with the "How did you like the episode?" option that there is there now. So, and then after that, not for the live viewers, but for anybody watching this show after, we will have a final segment where I talk to a knowledgeable PvPer about some follow-up on the PvP discussion we had last week. So that's going to be the show today. Let's get into it. So the comment of the week from Ven. It's Ven Gunny on YouTube, but this is Vendetta, who was on the show last week. But he said, "Hello, Ven here. Just wanted to drop a question for next podcast. Why does everyone just hate gnomes for no exact reason? I still can't figure out the reason why they hate gnomes so much." So I made this comment of the week because I started thinking about it, and I can't remember the origin of my hatred for gnomes. I don't know where it came from.
I think they're the Alliance's equivalent of undead. You got to pick one to hate. They're always the ones that dance after they gank you and shit. Undead like cannibalize you and stuff. They're the Alliance's assholes. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Like, No Hit Jerome loves to punt him on all of his videos, and I couldn't think of why I didn't like him, but I'm at a loss. Maybe people can chime in and let us know what they think, because I have no clue. But yeah, I still hate him. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Sorry, we were gonna have more guests on, Ven. So sorry we didn't get to answer your question. I'll try and throw it in there randomly on podcasts in the future. But yeah. All right. So what have you been up to, Ubi?
I've been playing all the versions this week. I've played Kata, I've played SOD. I installed The War Within last night. I'm going to boot that up whenever the hell they give me access, because I didn't pay enough money to get it this weekend. But yeah, playing on all fronts at the minute.
Interesting. You're gonna play War Within, huh?
I'll just give it a look. I pretty much skipped the entirety of Dragonflight. So yeah, I've heard good things about it. So when I say give it a try, that might be 4 minutes. It could be 4 hours.
But not 8 hours, not 12 hours.
It's very unlikely, but I'll give it an honest attempt.
What's it cost?
I can't remember. I was suckered in by the Metzen hype when he got on stage at BlizzCon, and I'm like, fuck it, take my money, tell a good story. So I can't remember how much it costs.
Yeah, I don't know. I normally get a free one, but I missed the sign up for the free one like a month ago. I just missed the ping. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna try it or not. We'll just have to see. I don't know if I'm down to pay for it. I might just watch the story on storyboards. I don't know. I did love dragon riding though. I really loved that. I think I picked 2 of the wrong characters. I don't know. It was really weird.
That was something that told me I'm more of a classic boomer than I like to think, because I went to dragon flying and I'm like, this is fucking crap. Just let me auto fly in a straight line. I don't want to pilot this thing. Just let me go to where I want to go.
See, you're funny. You had that thought on Countdown where you said that the flight paths are just the same as auto flying, and I was like, I don't think so at all. I think they put you up in the air, like, and you can stay in the air as long as you want. You know, that's the part that I don't like about it. You know, yeah, the part of auto flying or just taking the flight path is similar, except auto flying you always fly way too far. At least in my experience, but
you spend a little bit too long alt tabbed and your dragon's just flying into a cliff face somewhere.
Yep, or hear the and you're going off the map. But I don't like the fact that it takes people off of the planet and they can easily that's why dragon riding. If it was, that's why I wouldn't mind in classic if there was dragon riding, but not regular flying. And dragon riding would have to be toned down a ton. Like, if you're chasing somebody, you should be able to chase them on your dragon, but then they shouldn't be able to fly forever, right? That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But I also feel that there should be bolos and shit in the game to knock, people off of their mounts in PvP. Like, I think that should be a thing too. Like it was in Ultima Online.
I immediately got annoyed when I leveled in Kata and I got ganked in Hyjal like half an hour after starting. And I was like, mad PvP time, let's have it. And I went back to where my body was, and the guy was just floating on his griffin like 40 yards off the ground. And I spent a good 10 minutes like thinking, is there an item that like lassos someone off their mount? How can I get this prick? And I just had to give up. I had to go back to leveling.
Yep. You play Druid and Moon and fly up and Moonfire while you fall, and fly up and Moonfire and fly up and Moonfire. But yeah, I'm just not a big, I thought I liked flying way back when we were playing 2019 Classic. I gave North the mage all kinds of shit about him wanting no flying. And I even, he's talking about elevators all the time. I even tweeted at him, the guy sitting on the old person go up the stairs chair, automated chair, just going super slow. But it just turned out at the end, by the time we got through Wrath, I was like, yeah, North was right. I'm going to have to suck it up and just be like, I was definitely wrong in my own head.
That's something a lot of the communities probably changed heaps of their opinions on like Classic since playing through the trio. I know I certainly have. I thought tokens would be mad. And in hindsight, I don't think that they're good for the game. So...
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't think they hurt the game as much as some people will say they did, but at the same time, I don't think they were a good thing. I think they made a lot of people mad. But I don't know. I changed my opinion. If you look at all of these episodes, my opinion has changed so much in so many different things, and I feel like everybody should be like that, but I feel like a lot of people aren't like that. I have no idea what the percentage is, but so many people get stuck in their own opinions. And even if you talk them into, like, you know, thinking that, oh, actually what you're saying makes sense, they're the type of people that'll still just fight you for no reason until the end.
Yeah, it's just because it's another person that's trying to, I guess, tell them how to be right, even though they've decided that they like the opinion. Then they just go, "Don't fucking tell me what to think." So
And then those are the same types of people that 6 months later will all of a sudden bring that same conversation up and then all of a sudden it was them coming up with the idea or them deciding to change their opinion. It's great.
yeah, pretty much most of my 2 cents on the game isn't what I originally thought 3 years ago. That's for sure. So
Yeah, definitely. And just spending so much time podcasts and everything and listening to different people's, thoughts and takes. If you're really listening, I can't see how people haven't changed their opinions on a wide variety of things. But you said you're playing Kata too. Are you raiding in Kata?
yeah, I went and did full heroic clear this week, and I went in blind, and holy dooly, all the fights are more in. I call it engaging, but someone could just say hard because you have to do so much shit. Most of the fights are like as complicated as the harder fights from Wrath. Like I'd say, your putricides, your hard mode, Ulduar fights, Algalon and shit. It's like every fight has that many steps involved.
See,
So it was a lot of fun. I liked it.
I didn't feel like anything in. I don't know. I guess I didn't try all of the heroics, but Putricide is hard, man. Like that was like one of the hardest ones for me, at least in heroic ICC. Like Putricide, I was so glad I didn't have a pivotal job. Like I was a rogue and
Yeah,
I
I
would hate
watched
to be a tank or anything. Like those fights are tough for the
on my
pivotal
raid
roles.
frames, watching all the health bounce around, thinking "fuck playing a healer." And now I've seen Kata. I wouldn't even want to heal a bloody 5-man heroic in Kata. They're all losing time off their like lifespan healing that fucking expansion.
Well, and just the little bit of Kata that I played seems like a healer type of carry expansion. Like a lot falls on the healers' heads.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's all. I mean, it's kind of how it always is, but at least in classic, you can just like raw zug through a lot of things. But in Kata, it's kind of like if you had to have your 3 best players, you'd hope in a 10-man, you'd hope it would be 2 of the healers and the tank.
What about
So,
WoW Classic? What have you been doing in Season of Discovery?
I'm leveling my Aussie rogue at the moment since the megaserver announcement. I'm hoping that they let Australians escape and go play on the big US servers, but just I'm hoping for that, and so I'm investing in it. And otherwise, I've just been getting previous and shit. I've been taking it pretty chill, but I'm kind of like sitting there going, I want to see how they announce the next phase before really fucking sending it for level 60. I'm going to play it no matter what, but it's not like I'm chasing full MC bis already.
Yeah, I'm sitting on four piece tier 1. I did this last week. End up here. Well, let me talk about our raid real quick. First off, I've had a bunch of requests for asking how my old guild Varg and Yip are doing. Just a heads up to everybody. They're doing great. They decided to kind of turn down and go to. They decided to go to 10-man raiding in Kata, and so I didn't commit to them, and a lot of people didn't. And they're doing just fine. Yip's having a blast, doing 10-mans. It's less stress for him and Harskar to lead. They're having a good time. I'm playing fantasy football this year again with them too. So, I'm still in the guild as like an honorary member. I'm just not playing Kato with them, and I didn't play Sod with them because I wanted to play with all of the guests of the show and stuff over the years. So that's why I'd went with Swamp and Sod. It's been a good experience. I've gotten to lead raids, although I kind of got roped into that and by friends, coming back to the game after years, and now only 2 of those friends are left out of the 6. The whole reason I got into running a raid team was so I could make sure to get all of us in one raid.
I've that was a part of the return to Kata is I just get to be a dumb shit raider, no spreadsheets to fill in before raid, show up, don't stand in fire, get loot and leave. I have no authority or responsibility whatsoever, and that's a nice change after the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, and I graduated to using Geordie sheets this last raid, so I'm going the opposite direction. But yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
I like the sheet being there. I just don't like being the dude that even made it or fill it in every week with the roster and stuff. But I'm a big fan of the old raid spreadsheet assignments.
Well, Geordie did us a solid and made one that you just paste in the raid finder, which is what we used for raid signups, the raid finder ID, and it just plugs all the names in, and then you just have to hit the drop down and be like, this person on this decurs, this person on this tank, this person.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, Jordy made it pretty easy. We had a link for that in last week's notes. We should have a link for it in the description and the show notes below for this one. It worked out really good. We used it, and it was absolutely fantastic. $5 Patreon to Jordy gets it. They're constantly working on it, and they will have the BWL sheets out well before launch this time around. So Jordy's got sheets also for Kata. Probably going to do it for War Within too. You guys should really like his Patreon, unlike ours, has a lot to offer. So
Jordy's the king. He never half-asses anything he puts out. So
Jordy is awesome. He's a good buddy. Oh, he cracks me up though. His little quirks, but I can't tell you guys about that because that would be not cool. And so what else? Okay, so yeah, the story of our raid. So 2 weeks ago, we tried Heat 2. We got to Gar, got our asses whooped a few times, then decided to go back to Heat 1, and then we did Heat 2 for Shazra, but then we just went back and did Heat 1 for the rest of the run. And then the next week, last week, the week before last week, like so, two raids ago, we made some tank changes, and we made some changes to the raid, and we went into Heat 2, blew through everything. We had a new tank, so we decided to do Gar and Baron on Heat 1. They both dropped bindings, which was absolutely crazy. Then we went back to Heat 2 for the rest of the run. It was smooth as butter, no wipes, right? This week, we go into Heat 2. We fly all the way to Gar, and then I make the suggestion that we just stay booned and we practice the pull a few times because we decided to do a different strategy where we have a tank on the boss, a tank on the ads, and then a tank that's pulling ads out one by one to kill. So we pulled out 2 ads, killed them, left 2 ads up, left those 2 tanks, each taking one of those ads. Then we killed Gar, and we just one-shot it, like with no buffs, nothing. We were just like, it was going to be practice, but we just one-shot it. The pull went kind of bad, but we improvised during, and we were able to do it easy peasy. We killed Baron. Then with we still stayed boon because that's a little different on Heat 2 and 3. The way you have to rotate the raid, but that was easy. Then we just went on and just blew through the rest of the raid. I mean, we literally didn't wipe once. We destroyed everything. Went to Ani afterwards, destroyed that. I mean, it's been unreal. I think we probably could even do Heat 2 or Heat 3 next week, but we're going to do Heat 2 again, get some people some more gear, because that really helps. Because Heat 3 is hard if you go in with all bad gear. Like, if you go in with just, like, fire resist gear that has crap on it, no stats and stuff. Like, that's why it's hard. But I feel like we're doing it just like the natural progression way, and I like it. Like it's makes it a nice chill raid. Everybody can have a good time. It's not run by, there's not some raid lead yelling at you. Like everybody's having a good time, and it's good. So I think that we're killing it. But yeah, I'll keep you guys up to date. But as far as what I got done this week, I got my sword crafted, the one that sets you on fire. Yeah, the one.
Cool.
It was it was more money than I was anticipating after it was all done, but it's pretty freaking cool, and it's really
That's
cool.
a good addition to the game, the rogue sword.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit worried. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. The only thing I'm worried about is like its effect is so strong. Are we going to be like weapon swapping to it for the rest of the game?
If we only have to do it for Blade Fury, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal on single target bosses, to be honest. But anything that's cleave, it's going to be huge, because a single target boss is almost down to 0 armor anyway. Yeah. But you are going to have all the armor pen on it faster, possibly, maybe.
Yeah,
but
there'll be niche scenarios where it'll be good to swap to.
Yeah, if you have like a single warrior or even 2 warriors doing Sunder, you'll probably have more armor pen faster than other people. Yeah. But if you have a rogue doing the armor pen, then it's going to be pretty fast, and your druid should be having, fairy fire up right away. So you're not, I don't think it's that big of a thing for single targets, but it still is also, I think it's the fastest offhand in the game, too, at 1.2 speed. I could be wrong about that, but I think it is.
I'm pretty sure it would be. Maybe there's been caster daggers and shit that are that speed, but I think that's the fastest melee weapon I've seen, or melee.
Well, and so I was going to try it a few fights in Raid, but I pushed out. I had this mace that I wasted, the money to put Crusader on. It was the mace that's like 50 damage per second. It drops an MC, I think. But then I was going to lose out on the poison rune, and like I'd have to use a sword and a mace specialization, and I don't know. I just kind of wimped out and just didn't try it. Just kept doing my daggers, and but then we went after Ani. And the few remaining people, we went to do the world bosses. Oh, well, no, on Ani. Yeah, you guys, for a second there thought I was going to say I got ED, but nope, I don't. But I got, what's it called? Viscag from Ani. So I'm definitely going to be trying the 2 swords in Saber/Spec next raid. So I'm excited to see how that's going to work. I'm
just out and out fucking dagger simp. I'll play any version of Dagger Rogue as long as it's not absolutely trash compared to swords. So I'm sticking with Mutilate for now.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed Mute quite a bit, but
Sword Rogue's just a poor man's warrior. Come on.
Well, it's just I got that sword, and
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I mean I'll be using daggers the rest of the week, although I will be using the sword the offhand for dungeons. That sword is just absolutely absurd. with the armor pen, and then the fell striker. So I'll be using it. I was a little bummed to see that I had that stealth blade that lowers your threat by 30% for 30 seconds. And I so thought I was going to be able to pop that before fights and then swap out my weapons. And nope, it disappears as soon as you swap off the weapon, which is good because, I would have had to play some sweat. But boy, just not have to worry about ripping threat off the rip was so nice. Oh, man. But yeah, I think that's all. I think that's really all of the stuff. I feel like there was something else. Probably wasn't important. Right, well,
yeah, that's the thing. I play so much WoW, and then it's like, what did I do this week? I don't know. I did some shit. I played the game a lot.
I play a lot, and I play a lot just like getting reals, which like is how I kind of make money. But I try to just help whoever needs help, and I just have a good time hanging out with the boys. And yeah, it's really what I do most of the time is just run stuff. But all right, well, let's move into time for the news. All right, so first up in the news, Wild Strikes is now raid-wide.
Great change.
It is a great change, and it's also 100 yards. This is a huge change for Alliance, from what I understand, and it makes sense because their tank druids were sometimes like they were switching out their defense rune for trash and then switching it back in and like doing weird things, or deciding if they were going to use their defense rune instead of Wild Strikes. And
yeah, sometimes the convenience is just too logical, and I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a practice for the player base to like stop dooming about raid wide buffs if it's suitable.
Cool. And yeah, it's a big buff for Alliance, and and then it's a big helper for them especially. But for Horde, we just made like pumper groups much easier to make, because now no shaman needs to drop Wind Fury. Your shamans can be dropping Agi Totem, and I don't know what they would drop aside from Agi Totem or Wind Fury, but they could, if there's a caster one in there.
There's a bit of imbalance there. Like Horde's definitely stronger, but I don't know. It's like there is a pretty easy fix here, but it just upsets people. Is like, get rid of the fucking Agi Totem if you want to fix faction output. But then everyone will stomp their feet and say, "Oh no, it's symbolic. You can't take totems away. You're taking one totem, but whatever." Like, I don't really care. If I was an Alliance, I wouldn't give a shit about the indifference or the difference between the factions. But yeah, there are solutions there. It's just whether the crowd's willing to accept them or not.
Yep. Oh, you reminded me of Boondock Saints. You said symbolic, and I was thinking symbology. I believe the word you were looking for was symbolism. Have you ever seen that movie? I don't think it's.
No.
You haven't seen it?
I've never seen that.
Oh, dude, I remember Josh had a podcast. I forget what it was called, but it was about movies, and I remember they reviewed it, and all of them hated it. And I was like, these guys are freaking crazy, man. Because I was so mad because it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. Oh, all right. Well, since you don't know what it is, you're not gonna laugh. But yeah, I think this is a good change. I think it's there's not really another rune that the DPS is gonna run, so it's not like your other ferals aren't still gonna run it. I mean, I guess they could run. They could run the sun. What is it? Sunfire. The the dot thing.
It's only a nerf to people that were shit at feral, but they got brought because they were a feral. Like, and personally, I don't really enjoy that in the raids. It's like in Classic when you'd bring the enhancement shaman, and their whole attitude was like, I can grey pass as long as I drop Wind Fury Totem, and you go, fuck me, like. Just because their util is so powerful, they have to get a spot, almost regardless of what the rest of the class does. In this case, at least ferals are like top damage, but you'd still just have shit ferals, and they'd go, "I'm safe, baby. You can't replace me because I bring the best buff in the fucking game." Now you just
Yeah.
need to bring one, and like, I don't know. For me, I find that as a good thing. Like, ferals are a super niche, like, class and spec to play. Like, they're not exactly popular across all the versions of the game. So to put the best buff behind them for one of the factions, there's probably a shitload of people playing feral that didn't even want to, but they were because they were strong and they brought a good buff. So
Yeah. Well, and I implore people, if you have those types of people in your raid, get them out, man. Everybody's replaceable. Like, you might find somebody who's not as good, but you might be able to help them out, and they might be able to become as good. But those negative, toxic attitudes in raids are always going to make you worse than better.
Still got PTSD from TBC. Just play a shaman, and you'll end up in a top 10 guild because there was only so few on the server, and you want one in every party.
Oh yeah, depending on your server size. I guess I do have to say that, but the next bit of news will change all of that. You can get these toxic people out now going into the future, and there should be plenty of people to choose from in the pool. So let's talk about that. So this came in while I was playing golf yesterday, and I'm getting tells from everybody being like, are we leaving? Are we staying? I'm staying with Raid. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, leaving, staying? I was like, did the guild blow up? Like, what the hell is going on? And then they leaked me the article, and yeah, they're basically making, so some people read this as they're choosing one PvE and one PvP server on EU and NA, and people are going to transfer to that. Some people are reading this as they're creating 2 new servers on each side, and every server is going to need to transfer to that. But basically what's going on, they're making one PvE server and one PvP server. Whether it's a current one or a new one, it's going to be the servers to rule them all. Everybody throughout the rest of SOD, so if somebody comes back in 2 months, they'll still be able to do it. Everybody will have free transfers for any character to these new realms, and those will stay open forever. The trick is here, though, the old realms, they're calling legacy realms, all the realms that started with SOD or were created during SOD's lifetime, you can no longer make a character on that. I don't know if you already have characters, if you can make a new alt, or if
I think it's new players. I think if
just new players,
I think just new players won't be able to select those servers.
Either way, you're not going to be able to create new characters on these servers, so they are effectively, like, if they're effectively forcing you to move, they're dead. I was a little worried.
I don't think it'll be too bad. Like, this is, some people hate this take, but you're only experiencing the game on one layer anyway. So, like, you play Crusader Strike peak hour, there's 6 or 7 layers, whatever. Now maybe on this other server there's going to be 32 layers, but who cares? I'm still only on one of them. I don't think they're going to make the layers significantly bigger, like hosting more players. So your in-game experience isn't going to change. You're just going to have more people to play with on more layers, and you'll get dragged to different layers more often. But I don't think you're actually going to notice it, really. Other than, now you can play with the rest of the Americans that you know on the American server. So
let me tell you what I think is going to change. You're specifically with layers you were talking about. We're able to travel between layers and travel between the layers we want fairly easy to get Songflower, things of that nature, right? There's usually, like, peak hours you'll pop up to 6 on Crusader Strike, but then it just goes down to 3, and Songflower's tracked by Nova World buffs. But Nova World buffs can only track up to 10 layers. So we're going to be way past 10 layers at this point.
No, that'll be all right.
Yeah, it's just going to be harder to. You're going to actually need to not, like, most of the time, I think you're going to actually need to cleanse your own songflower, is what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to be able to just, because you're going to be trying to layer to, like, one of the layers that's tracked, which will be, like, the first layers. But those will be so full, you'll just never layer. You'll just never layer over. You'll be trying to layer, but like everybody bitches about, we tried to layer, forever. Well, what you needed to do was switch the lead to a different layer, because when the layer's full, you're not getting on.
Those dumbasses will always just go to whichever layer has a songflower coming up in 2 minutes. You just need to be like, layer 4 is going off in 14 minutes. I'll just go to that layer now because no one else is trying to get there. And you'll get on it easy. It's just people that'll go, I want songflower and I want it in the next 48 seconds.
Yep.
And they'll all be trying to get on that layer. Just fucking have a bit of patience. Pick layer 17 for God's sake. That's popping off eventually. So,
well, and
there's that many songflowers too. Like, when you think about it, if there's 31 layers, there'll be a songflower going off like every 6 seconds, like across all of them.
Yeah, well, and if there's that many layers, you'll be able to just go cleanse a songflower. I mean, PvP servers, you might have to take some buds, or ask in general, because general is layer specific. Ask in general, like, for some backup, say free songflower, I need some help here, and you're probably going to be fine. But it is going to be interesting with that many layers going on. It's going to be kind of crazy. And for anybody, for the first thing I thought of was, oh God, I hope it's Crusader Strike that they do, because I don't want to freaking move.
I'm 99% sure they're not picking a current server to become the megaserver, because that is just straight off the bat, like, that's slack to the other servers. So, like, I think all these servers stay, and there'll be a new server with a new name, and we all go to there, and it's first in best dress to get your name and stuff. It'll be to, like, if you pick Crusader Strike, every other American server is just going to be butthurt. Like, oh, now I have to change my name, but they get to keep theirs. It's just easier, clean slate. And
I think you're right. That's the more fair way. We'll see what they actually do, though, because almost every content creator is on Crusader Strike, and I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the big boys, And
they'll get the sneaky email to fucking save their name 10 minutes before everyone else.
We didn't last time. It was like when Crusader Strike came out, my name was gone, and I was in there almost instantly. My name was gone. Jordy's was gone. No, Jordy got his somehow. Stars was gone. Everybody, like, we were in a huge call with like a ton of creators, and almost everybody's got jacked. Mine, luckily, my warrior actually has my name, because 3 weeks later, when I made my warrior, or 2 weeks later, whatever it was, it had opened up, and I was like, oh, sick. But I would have rather my rogue have my name instead of have 2 B's at the end. But I don't know. It could be. We could see. It would be easier on at least, the thousands of people that are on Crusader Strike for them to just move it over. But I think it would definitely be more fair for them to make a brand new server where everybody has to move over to. But it's going to be, they could do the thing where they just mash them together and like just have like a, CS at the end of all of our names. But I don't really like that either.
That's the thing. I said that to Josh yesterday, and I'm like, they could make it I'm DB Cobber of Crusader Strike as like your name, and it wouldn't matter to me if there was another person of the same name running around on the server, like that whole cross realm vibe. But then people hate that, but then they complain about having to change their name. It's just like, you can't win. I'd hate to be a dev on this game. The community would make me jump out the fucking office for sure.
Yep. Yeah,
well, at least Reddit, and like the top 10 comments was just people complaining about like, oh, GG to my name, brother. If that's the biggest problem with this, it's not that bad of a decision. Like if that is your biggest gripe, it seems like a good change.
Yeah, the vocal minority has to be a big pain in the ass for them. But
Well, yeah,
it is a little bit of a bummer for a lot of people. A lot of people really, their name really speaks to them. Like I just choose my name as versions of Blazzinbob because I appreciate all the nice tells everybody sends me, and when I go to AVs and I'm sitting there guarding a flag the other night, and a guy walks up, I'm like, "Hi." I thought he was checking to see if I was a bot, but he's like, "Love the podcast, dude." I was like, "Oh, thank you for listening." And then my buddy Kildine standing next to me goes, "I was on a few weeks ago." It's just usually the people that contact me in game are always saying nice things, and it just it warms my heart, energizes me to do more. You know what I mean? So that's why I choose the name. I mean, I could be fine with not having my name. So it isn't that big of a deal, but it is. I think that's what a lot of the smaller creators want, whereas the bigger creators don't want you to freaking know what their name is. Like leave me alone.
Would be I think the change is, if they just announced this at the very beginning, it would be the same scenario. Like people go, "Oh, now I'm going to lose it." It's like there is an alternative where we had mega servers from the get go, and you just never got your name in the first place, and you played as a different name the whole time anyway. So I don't know. I'm just an optimist, I guess, but it's going to be interesting to see, like, there's going to be guilds that will do we'll just stay on Crusader Strike. And they'll say that until Crusader Strike shrinks down to 1,500 people, and then they'll try and leave. And they're only fucking themselves. Like maybe they lose their guild name and all their character names and everything because someone else moved earlier and took it. So it's kind of like we've seen it so many times on Classic when they shut the servers down, like they condense them, especially like in our region in Australia. You can start with like 3 servers, and by the end of Classic, there's always one. They fold down like a house of cards. And
Yeah.
how many times do we have to learn this lesson? It's just the good news is that they've found the tech to do this. It was genuinely impossible for them to do it, and now they have new server tech that I'm sure Tom Ellis is probably hyped up about. That's their server guy. It's cool that they can do it, and now we don't have to listen to people saying, "Oh, private servers managed to have 40,000 people without a problem." Blah de da de da.
They didn't though. Yeah,
Now,
anybody that says
they
that, it's
didn't.
lying. They had 5,000 people. Like
Yeah,
10,000
so
was the biggest server I think that they had.
this will be, this is just a net gain for sure, and it's not even close. Like it's not like it's 51% good, 49% bad. This is just a 95% fucking gain for the game.
Let me do the Josh thing, and now this is why I choose the biggest server and the server with the most hype every time. I didn't choose Farrellina in 2019, but I chose Whitemane, and it was like the second biggest, and that was because a bunch of friends were going to Whitemane, so I chose that, and then everybody was like trying to talk me into, let's go on a different server where we don't have a queue. And I'm like, bro, sit out the queue. It'll be worth it in the long run. I was right then.
Yeah, for sure.
I was right back in the day, 2004, same thing. They were offering transfers off of the server. I was like, just stay. We have a queue. That's a good thing. Just stay. Like, I was right then. Like, I've been right about this, but a lot of people on Crusader Strike would be like, excuse me, just because I was smart enough to choose the proper server in the beginning, now you're fucking me too? You should fuck the people that did the wrong move, and I shouldn't be fucked. And I think there's a lot of people that feel like that. I don't feel exactly like that, but I do feel like I've been telling you for years now to get on the biggest server. It is the smartest play, period.
It's a dramatic example, but it's like in Australia, like we get bad bushfires, and it's bad when they happen, and you feel bad for people. But then there's a part of your brain where if they're on the news and they're going, "Yeah, this is the 4th time my house is burnt down," you go like, maybe don't live in like the highest bushfire fucking prone part of the country. Move like 10 k's down the road. Like,
Could you cut all
it's
the
the same
bushes
with.
for like
Well, that's like
200 yards from your
the
house?
the bush is too dense out here. But it's like it's. I don't mean to be like an insensitive example, but I feel like that's the same with like, oh, my servers died for the 4th time because I picked the shitty tiny one because I like a little community. You go, well, you made your bed, fucking sit in it.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
what
I'm here going like, don't even give them a lifeboat off. If they want to leave, they can level again on the big server. Like, I'm just savage about it.
it reminds me of Liar Liar, when the one guy that's like the repeat client of him keeps calling you, and he's
Yeah.
just like, he's like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, stop breaking the law, asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, you've been here, you've done that, you know, you should have been on the other server. Like, that's just really the way it is. Now, some people do enjoy the smaller servers. Like, I would beg to differ. They're not high-end raiders, probably, and, you know, that's fine. Like, but they do like the smaller servers. It is kind of a bummer for them that their buddies will just never be able to join. Like, that is a bummer.
Well, that's why like the mega server will let a lot more people play with a lot more people. So I mean, I don't know how someone can spin that negatively. Like I have friends that play on Wild Growth because they were like they just wanted a more chill server, I guess. And then now we'll be able to play together. And again, I told them, you're just going to be playing on one layer, and even if you're on a gigantic server and we're doing dungeons, guess what? It's the same. There's just 5 of us in a dungeon. You don't know that you're on a 50,000 pop server. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's wicked.
Yeah,
And
I
it's a
think
good
it's
sign for the game. Stuff like this, it's not as exciting for some people because it's not like their class getting a buff. But this is actually like this is literally some of the biggest changes that they could make
this
to the
is
game.
absolutely the best change. The different servers and servers dying and people transferring off servers and all this shit, like, is what has plagued Classic since 2019. Period. It's one of the biggest problems that led to faction imbalance on different servers. Them willy-nilly throwing up server transfers, letting people destroy servers that were 50-50. You know, this is a big deal.
It saves them time on their end. Like if it's just a set and forget, like here's a server for your region, they're not going to have to put any resources or time into saving shit realms anymore.
Yep.
Like they've probably put a lot of time, and from how they describe it, it does sound like a bit of an endeavor to like, oh, this server's like dead in the ass. Let's rescue all these people off it and put them on this one and set up the transfer line and all that shit. Sounds like it's more effort than what we give them credit for. So,
yep. The one thing that really is a bummer is, so they've talked about, your 50-50 balance on the PvP servers and how that's still going strong. And it is still going strong, guys. For anybody that says that, for instance, anybody who says Crusader Strike is dominated by one faction or the other, either is just telling you their personal experience, an idiot, somebody who hasn't been paying attention, or somebody who just wants to tell their narrative. The truth of the matter is, I play every day, I play 40 to 80 hours a week on Crusader Strike, and no, sometimes the Alliance owns the entrance to Blackrock. Sometimes Allied does. We literally call it out as we're running to different dungeons. Like it's just the way it is. Sometimes there's more of one faction on one layer. That does happen, yes, but there is a shit ton of it is balanced. I'm sorry. It is balanced. They say that all of the PvP servers are still balanced, so this merge shouldn't matter. Problem I have is now there's only one server. So Are they still going to do the lockout? If, are you still not going to be able to make a tune on Horde if Horde is the dominating faction?
Sorry, what are you asking me? Really?
Like, we're going to put all the PvP servers together. It's been a glorious time of 50-50 on the realms. Now we're going to put all of them together. Are they still going to keep it 50-50 and on this one server you just can't make Horde? Or you can't make Alliance?
I reckon that's just a wait and see when people... Because there is literally no reason at all that more Alliance should transfer to the Mega PvP server, other than just chance. But statistically, that's pretty unlikely. If you've got 40,000 players trying to move to one server, there isn't any reason at all in the game that's PvP associated where 30,000 Alliance go and 10,000 Horde go. It's probably going to end up remaining pretty balanced. And the bigger the number, the easier it balances itself. You know what I mean? It's easy to have a server that's 400 Alliance, 600 Horde, and you're going, oh, that's 60-40. But 200 difference when you're talking about a 50K server is sweet fuck all. It's almost perfectly balanced. So the bigger the pool, the easier it should self-manage. But I mean, they'll probably be able to flick a switch just like they did on launch day where they go, oh, way too many Alliance have transferred, so we're locking Alliance transfers off for a little bit until it balances itself. And it probably would really quickly. It's not going to be weeks of effort. In my mind anyway, once they open the gates, I'm imagining 80% of anyone that will eventually end up on the server is doing it that day. You're just moving all in one day. We're probably going to crash the damn thing with all the transfers as soon as it opens. So
yeah. Well, that's what I'm worried about as a PvPer, and I don't care how many layers you have. If we've got 20,000 Horde and 30,000 Alliance, that is not going to work. It is just not going to work. So
I'm aiming for the fucking stars here in terms of optimism. We're going to have layers that can support 4,000 people on a layer. There's not going to be 30 layers. There's going to be 5, and the whole server will just be on one fucking jacked layer, and it won't run like shit. Full copium optimism. And then we'll get to shit on everybody that complains that oh, you can't have a 100v100 without lag, and the game will run better.
You can, because we did it in phase 3. Yeah, now, granted, it was instanced. I don't know that I saw those fights outside in the world, but they've definitely improved their tech as far as big fights, so
I hope they release a video with a bit more information on the update rather than a post to explain the actual technical improvements that they have access to now.
Yep. And
I think they don't realize how much the players actually like to hear from this side of things. So
all right, well, I think this is a really good thing. I think this is going to solve a lot of problems that everybody's had with servers dying, not being able to find a group, and people just quitting rather than paying for a transfer or messing with the transfer. Everybody will just all be on the same side. And for any seasonal server or anything going forward, I think this is fucking huge. So
yeah, it makes it so comfortable to be a returning player. If you go back to the Aussie server, bro, it's peak hour last night. I was logging onto my American Rogue and my Aussie Rogue. The American Rogue, it was 4:30 in the morning, your time, and Org had twice as many people in it than what the Aussie Org does at 7:30 at night.
At the prime time.
Prime time Friday. So it's that dead. And because it's that dead, there's probably been a lot of guildies of mine that have logged on, gone, wow, it's fucking quiet, logged off, didn't even bother. But on a fucking super server, it's going to be busy enough for you to play the game all year long. So
Yep. All right, well, we're going to move into
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right, so Ubiquitous has a new survey out. I'm going to post the link in the description of the podcast and the show notes, so you should be able to find it there. You'll notice it does take into account if you're logged into Google, it does take into account that you're logged into Google, but you'll be able to see that your email is not saved. So just want to get that out for everybody so that email won't be saved. It's just there,
Yeah, I made it as open as possible. Like, I don't want your fucking emails or your data. I just hope people don't grief it. But it was a lot of fun to make.
So why don't you tell us what inspired this?
I'm on Countdown to Classic a lot, and there's a lot of players that they're very, I guess, firm on what they want in and out of the game, and like I am too. But there just seemed to be a lot of clash between accepting that it's not going to be 100% your classic, and even I like to use the dramatic example of flying. Flying is like, you could put it in the game and you can hate it. Are you actually going to fucking not play whatsoever? Even if 90% of the game is exactly what you asked for, but they did put in flying, are you going to deny yourself playing Classic Plus, hypothetically, because they put that thing in? Some people would still go yes, but a lot of people would go, I'll put up with it to get all the bits that I like. But even just to gauge, on some topics where more people are flexible, where some systems in vanilla are just perfect. Like, I go over pretty much most of it. I did try to keep it really trim. There's some generic questions in there that we know the answer of, like, do you want more raids? Like, yeah, of course we want more fucking raids. But like weapon skill, how do you want it to be tweaked? If you want it tweaked at all, and all this kind of shit, like, how easily do you want it to be made less relevant or more relevant? So I don't know. And I kind of just did it because I like talking about the game, and there's been so many back and forths. So I thought, fuck it.
Well,
I'll just slap something together.
Let me give you something. So on the flying thing, like, I wouldn't die on that hill unless, to put flying in the game, they had to give us Cataclysm Azeroth, and that would be a hard no for me, because Cataclysm, exactly, like art in the entire world, is Disney, like Disney across the board to me. Like, it's Disney. Yeah. And I like Disney movies to go to bed when I'm going to sleep, right? I like them as movies. I don't like them as a Tolkien fantasy game. You know what I mean? So... Yeah.
And I've chucked in a lot of, like, there's answers in there that I'm not trying to lean people towards, but it's just an idea or a concept that I've heard about or we spoke about prior, like the PvP system, for example. I've seen other surveys on, like, the Reddit and shit, and I'd always do them because I find them fun. And it would be like, does the PvP system need changing? Yes or no? And you go, what the fuck is yes? What's yes to anybody? How do you know what their yes is or my yes is? So, like, I've formed the question in a way that's like 5 separate ways to change it, and then the 6th option is just like, nah, it's fine how it is, don't change it. Instead of, because a lot of them have just been 10 questions long, yes or no answers, like, do you like how your class plays? Yes and no. No, I like how some of it plays. I hate how the other half plays. So I don't know. I've tried to be a bit more thorough, and I just hope it spurs a bit of discussion. And there's a little part of me that maybe it won't be relevant whatsoever to anybody at Blizzard, but I feel like hopefully there could be questions in there that they themselves could never ask in an official capacity, because we would just go batshit crazy. Like, we go nuts whenever they give us a survey at all, and it could be, hey, do you guys want this? And we'll go nuts. There'll be a million YouTube videos in my algorithm tomorrow. But so maybe some of these questions are something that they would like to ask, but if they ever did, we'd just go too fucking crazy. So who knows? We'll see.
Well, here, let me answer a couple of the questions. Sex, yes, please. Oh, sorry, that wasn't on there. But you've got your ones, like, Are you currently subbed to WoW? Which
there's a
version of WoW
little
do you enjoy
there's a little
most?
info grab at the start that's like just generic, who are you and how you're answering kind of thing. But just something else to add on is a lot of them just have neutral. Like, I don't really care enough to be yes or no on this topic, which is a fault of a lot of the other surveys that I've seen, in my opinion, anyway. Like, there's just some. I think one of them could be, additional races, and I put in, I don't give a fuck as an answer. Like, whatever. Some people don't actually give a shit if there's goblins on Horde, but then there is obviously yes and no. So that's just another little tweak from something that haven't seen in a lot of other surveys. It always annoyed me because there are a lot of like the best analogy of it is, do you want to die on this hill? And there's actually a lot of things that no one wants to die on, apparently, from what we've been talking about. It's just like, whatever. If it makes other people happy, I'll have it in the game. So yeah, I feel like that's helpful.
Yeah.
Anyways, you pick some or whatever. Like, there's too many for us to go over. I gotta tip in a
definitely.
little bit, but just pick something. And
we're gonna raid Countdown to Classic here in a second here, and we're gonna catch that live because we have the other segment, which is an hour and a half too, that's gonna go on the end of this. But I like how your first question was server structure preference. I'm assuming you put that in before even the changes, but
yeah, I got a recommendation. Someone messaged me saying you should add an option for one mega server for the region, and that was before the announcement.
Yeah,
so
that's
I DM'd
great.
him back going, "You're a wizard."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've got layered standalone servers, small single layer servers, smaller single layer servers with cross realm enabled, and then giant regional servers, many layers. I mean, giant regional servers with many layers is what Warcraft would have done in 2004 if they had the capability. Like, that was one of their biggest struggles throughout WoW is server health.
Yeah, I like that you think in that manner of like what they did do in 2004 and what they wish they could have done in 2004. You can't say that this game is the perfect. There's a shitload of things in this game that there's literally interviews with devs going, "Oh, we wish we could have done this different," but you just couldn't back then.
Yep.
And you've come to appreciate it now, but there is an alternative out there that could be better, and we were just denied access to it way back when.
Well, and I like that they've finally come out and admitted that they can do this type of stuff, because I worked in IT, and I worked in IT as a systems engineer and network engineer for a long time. Like, and when WoW first started, they were running it on one blade server. Like, one server was actual one server in the game. And then it slowly turned into, you have your auction house server, you have this server. They were like clustered in a way. But then server tech now, you have like hundreds of servers that are basically one server, and you're using VMware to make virtual servers. So they've found a way to spin up new ones as they're needed. And I'm not saying this isn't extremely complicated, because it was. Like, what I did was extremely complicated, and not a lot of people in the United States can even do it, so it's definitely complicated. But I love that they actually are getting it done now, and not saying, like before, when they were saying in 2019 that this is, we're not capable of this. What I wanted them to say was, we're not capable of this with the budget we currently have, because that was the true answer to what the question they were answering, because it was possible at that time too.
Yeah, there's always the factor that they're trying to pull a game from a fucking bygone era, and maybe it doesn't just plug straight into new tech. Like, maybe there's actually been a lot more work to allow this. Like, if you literally built a complete new WoW Classic from scratch, you could probably build it to have a shitload more players, but maybe it's taken this long to be able to adopt the game to the new tech as well. So But I'm an absolute numpty when it comes to this shit. I don't know. I'm not a server engineer, and I'm definitely not a game dev. So I have no idea how long it takes to do anything.
Yep. All right. So, what is your ideal leveling pace for 1 to 60 in hypothetical classic? 150 hours. The old school, basically 120 hours classic 1.12, 90 hours TBC changes, 60 hours heirloomed Wrath of the Lich King vibes, 40 hours sod pace various plus XP buff. We have to add another, at least 20 hours minimum to get all runes, So
But we won't be getting runes in a
true,
Classic Plus.
true.
So I tried to there's a lot of questions that do lean on what they've done inside a little bit, but I haven't gone with the assumption that we're getting most of this or to expect it. But even like with the Wrath example, I'm not saying you're going to level with heirlooms. It's just the speed, the feeling of it. Like, because heirlooms take off what, 20% or 25% again. So like, that's just one of those things. Hopefully people understand that I mean the speed of it, not actually having heirlooms, because that's down in another question, like alt friendly enabling features and shit. So
Yeah.
but the 150 hours was suggested to me by another guy as well, and that's slower than vanilla. He's saying slow it down and really make the leveling process more of a grind. I don't think it'll be a popular selection, but it's good that it's there.
That's slower than vanilla. That's slower than classic. Not slower than vanilla. Vanilla, dude, you wouldn't believe it. I was the first 60 mage on the server, and I was an idiot at level 35 using an Agi sword. Because I wanted to be a battle mage, and I was literally dying constantly, and I was the first mage on Burning Legion. It's unbelievable.
I just roughly went off my own experiences. Like, I would say that I'm a pretty fast leveler, even if I'm playing like a rogue or something. And I did 1 to 60 in like, I think 4 and a bit days. You're talking like 90 hours ish. But the average player is about, you'd say, 5.5 to 6 days played to do 1 to 60 in the full 2019 Classic with no buffs or anything. So
I didn't know. I had no idea what my 2019 Classic took me to actual level because I was basically like, I had to log in, because of queues so early. And then I was literally walking to my computer, hitting spacebar, flying on flight paths because they don't kick you out usually when you're on a flight path. Yeah. Like, I was doing all that kind of shit. That was probably half of my /played time. I wish there was /played had an option to take out idle time because I have no idea what it took. But I do know that I remember Mel and I were in Stockholm, Sweden. And we're there for a convention, and we're like level 53, and we're doing quests in Syrian Gorge, and we do all the quests, and we don't even get 54, and it was just like such a slog, and we did it like the entire night for like 8 hours, and I was just like,
I think I was tempted to add in an option that was like really, really quick because I'm pretty surprised. I hear from a lot of people that I would call like classic players, and they're kind of the stance now of, we can say the leveling is the journey and all this fucking cliche shit from Reddit, but they go, at the end of the day, the leveling is like however many days, and they have hundreds of days played. They're like, it's not. I play so much more at endgame. So I've even had people say, like, I don't want the leveling to take more than 30 hours. I want to play for 30 hours, level like every half an hour, and have it like that. I'm still a bit more, I kind of like the middle ground. I don't mind it taking maybe 60, 70 hours, but
I like the faster ground. Like, I like the faster ground, and I'm even weird, like, yeah, I don't know if I should bring this idea, but I'll bring it up in another time because I've got a crazy idea for Classic Plus, but we'll bring it up when we've got more people to to
Yeah,
cross
leave it for a bigger
examine
call.
it. Yeah. But yeah, I want it faster. Unless we're doing all new quests, I want it faster. And I'm
Yeah, well,
sorry, like that's what I want. And you talk about like leveling's the journey, and I say bullshit. It wasn't the journey in freaking. I mean, it okay. It was a journey that we had to take on in 2004, 2005, but we all wanted to get to max level. Period. Like, that was the goal we were looking for, and the beauty of Classic is that you can just keep living in that world after you're level 60. That's the beauty. Like, that's not the beauty of TBC. That's not the beauty of Wrath of the Lich King. That's not the beauty of any expansion afterwards.
And the bulk of your player base aren't college students living off 2-minute noodles anymore. They're all 30-something working adults that, like, it's a reality. You know, it's a reality that kind of probably needs to be accepted a bit more. I'm not saying, oh, you just come home from work and play for 10 minutes a day and you get a level, but you know, there's a middle ground there. It's not the same as 2004. Neither are the players' lifestyles of that time. So maybe it needs to shift a bit more in a friendly manner. But I've got, like you mentioned, the questing. Like, I've got questions in there about, you know, do you want more quests? Obviously, but like, how many do you want? How thorough do you want it to be? And then, do you want so many quests that I can do 1 to 60 just on Eastern Kingdoms as an undead? I never go to Kalimdor. Is that what you want? And like, do you want the abundance of quests to mean that you just can skip chunks of the area? Like, imagine playing an undead and you can actually you just do like Tirisfal, Silverpine, Hillsbrad, into Arathi, back to Alterac, which would now have like 20 quests. Who knows? Maybe fucking put a little hub in there. Then from there, like down to Badlands and shit, and Searing Gorge, Burning Steps, all that crap. Toss in Stranglethorn somewhere in there. Like, that's a 1 to 60 pass if you just put 50 more quests in those zones. Is that a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. I reckon it would actually make the world seem bigger, that you're going from 1 to 60 really thoroughly on one continent. And now when I go level an Orc alt, it's like a whole different game. The whole leveling journey is different. At the moment, every single character I make goes through the Barrens thoroughly. It's the same shit over and over and over. I think it would be fun for the Eastern Kingdoms to have something as thorough as the Barrens. And then, you know, if you like it so much, you can still swap. If you love the Barrens, you can send your undead there, vice versa. I think that would be good. Imagine Silverpine was actually like level 10 to level 20. You don't have to leave the zone. I think that would be a better version of the game, but we'll see what people chuck in there. But that's like the butterfly effect. I've seen so many people ask, do you want more quests? And the answer is always yes. And then no one's really said, all right, so we've got more quests. How does this actually affect the players? Oh, fuck. Now you just skip zones. Like, you never have to go to Hinterlands because you managed to level past it because there's so many quests somewhere else.
Yep. Well,
At the moment, very static path.
I like how you added in the sleeping bag too as a question. Like, would you want this type of thing in? And the sleeping bag really pushed for, you know, for interaction with players, because players all of a sudden, they couldn't speed through a dungeon. They had to do, you know, the sleeping bag at the start, and then somebody's like, "So you come here often?" Yeah. You know, like it sparks conversation.
I found the bag was funny, but I actually, the 3%, I personally think the whole thing was just a gimmick, because like they put it in and it was like how about you guys take a 3-minute break? Because the 3% XP buff that you get from the sleeping bag takes longer to get than if you just killed shit.
Yeah,
like,
I've told people. I've told people if you get 100k EXP, you're getting 3k more. That's how it works, guys.
And in the 3 minutes that you took to get that buff, you could have just killed 5 more packs and had more than 3k XP.
Yep,
but
exactly.
I actually really, I don't know, like, I didn't see that many players utilizing it that well. Like, I'm a go to work, come home, play for 90 minutes ish, then get off, go walk the dog and shit. I love the sleeping bag because in Classic, 90 minutes, you'd do a questing lap for longer than 90 minutes without going back to town, it meant that I could chuck the bag out, log out in it, and then I get to come back tomorrow after work again. And I've been getting rested XP, which would only be about 10% at that point. You get about 5% for each 8 hours you're logged off. I'd have 5 to 10% from being logged off, and I'm where I want to be. I didn't have to run back to town to log off to then run back the next day. It's just a tiny quality of life that, like, my guys set up a camp, and now when I log in tomorrow, I'm still in the middle of the jungle killing murlocs or some shit in Stranglethorn. Like,
Yep.
I liked that actual convenience of coming back each day to contribute to your character, and you're not missing out on rested. But then, yeah, your alternative was to just log out in the wild and get fuck all rested, or you waste time running to and from town. I just liked the I liked the premise of it, and it could be cooler. Like, you could set up a camp, and who knows? This is where it's such a
Oh wow,
brief,
the
basic
camp.
question, but you could imagine you could upgrade it as you went along,
Oh
or like
God.
could be like a campsite that you kind of set up and.
What MMO did that? Was it Dark Age of Camelot? Did I remember setting up a camp and like other people?
I only
No!
ever saw it in
Star
New
Wars
World.
Galaxies. I
saw
think it was
it
Star
in
Wars
New
Galaxies.
World camp, yeah. But a
Shit,
few
I don't
games have
know.
had it, and it is good. Like, I think it's a good feature, especially for a game that is literally designed around coming back each day and chipping further away at the block. It's just it's a portable inn, and that's not the end of the world. It's not like you can repair in your tent. You don't pop your tent up and some little goblin blacksmith appears and lets you repair your shit. Going to town still has a lot of power, but it's just to let you get some rested XP.
Yeah,
And it's a fast logout. I like that.
I can't think of what game had. Oh my gosh, it's gonna kill me. It was really cool though, because you'd set a camp up and you'd have access to be able to cook things.
Yeah.
I could be thinking of Red Dead Redemption. I don't know. Shit, I'm not sure. Yeah, somebody help me out with what I'm thinking about. But
I'm
yeah,
having a scroll. I feel like I've covered quite a lot. So
I'm gonna maybe make a separate video where I just answer these and then
yeah.
No,
No, I'm down
give
for
my
that.
thoughts on it.
I'm happy for I can post it in your Discord and shit. Like, that's the thing as well.
Definitely.
We're
gonna get it out
I'm
to
not
everybody we can.
I'm not a content creator. I'm not a streamer. I'm not doing this to get like follows or anything. I just like talking about the game. I'm just a podcast deviant, and there's no personal gain for me, but I'd like as many people to do it as possible.
All right, well, we'll get it posted in the notes, and I might do just a one-off YouTube video. I don't do those often, so I think I might do that, and then maybe I'll talk about my weird idea in that video too, because it is weird. Yeah. It is weird, but I think it could be really fucking cool, especially for people that think leveling is the game, because this would bring a whole new aspect to that. So
yeah,
you wouldn't be leveling, but I don't know. I'm not going to give too many hints way, but we're gonna move into. Do you have any shout outs or any place we could find you, Ubi, that you want to say before we go here?
No. If anyone wants to send me reviews of it or suggestions, just search me up in any of the Discords that you're in. I'm literally in practically every Discord under the sun for all the classes, all the podcasts and shit. So just search me and fucking shoot me a DM.
Sounds good. And for the rest of you, we're gonna go ahead and send you over to the PvP talk, and we'll see you guys next week.
See yous.
Welcome to this special PvP segment of Warcraft Reloaded. We are joined by Lazaric, and I will let him give a little intro of who he is and what his WoW background is. Welcome to the show, Lazaric.
How's it going, Bob? My name is Lazaric. Some people kind of know me for back in Classic from the Ungoro Mafia, Ungoro Crater, Cartel, and I've played back since Chronos 2, back on private servers.
Oh wait, the Mafia was on Faralina, right?
Yeah, the Mafia was on Faralina.
Yeah,
And
because
there's
we
a
had
lot.
a private server Mafia on Whitebane.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos still up about all that drama. I mean, it was a it was a huge deal, and Blizzard caught on, and they kind of let it go for a while, and then once Dire Maul came out, they kind of nerfed the spawn rate and everything else. So a lot of that, a lot of Blackrock Mountain PvP, killing people with world buffs, and a lot of ranking. And I played in the 2019 Classic Summer Bowl with my team. I played with people like Bean Slayer, the retail rank 1 player, and played against some of our friends, Vampire Clan, which is the undefeated team of Alliance. But we did end up placing 3rd in that tournament, and I've played on Hen House and Battleground servers specifically for this. I'm very um,
Very PvP centric
yes,
player.
yes, yeah. But
Did you play back in 04 and 05?
I did. I played the original WoW. I started playing 4 months after it came out, and was also a PvPer. Then I played into TBC and Wrath original. I didn't actually raid. I was a diehard arena player back then, and I didn't play Kata, and I came back at MOP, and that was pretty much the end of me playing the progressive expansions. I was off playing other games and private server vanilla. And that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 10 years as far as gaming goes.
I missed out on the private servers. I was on Burning Legion in a guild that got like, usually second kill on the server behind the Horde. We were all Alliance, but I was super huge into raiding, then quit after Dax was out for like 6 weeks, and then ended up coming back for TBC and only PvP'd. Like that's all I did for the whole expansion, and then went back to raiding in Wrath, and then quit first raid of Cataclysm. So very similar kind of story there.
Yeah, I mean, WoW PvP has always been great, man. It's always been a niche, and it has different game modes, but I feel like it's overlooked by Blizzard at times, for sure.
Yeah,
especially in SOD.
And honestly, a lot of people dog on the PvP in vanilla, but vanilla actually changed so much throughout the course of it. I mean, in the beginning, Paladins had their last talent in Ret was Kings. There were so many things that were so different, but people often look to rank 14 weapons or rank 12 weapons and rank 14. And they look at that as like the PvP, but that wasn't until towards the end of vanilla that everybody was one-shotting everybody.
Yeah, it just kind of goes with the gear. Once you get to the AQ and Nax phase, it just gets like that. Yep. It's just the way it is. And still somehow, even when you have this level of gear, the game still feels balanced.
Except for Warlocks. Warlocks could beat like everybody.
Yeah, and Warlocks.
Like 1v1 wise, but 1v1 was pretty great. Like across the board for most classes, just in OG vanilla, I think.
Yeah, and even with a class that maybe might not be so great in 1v1, like you could take a warrior, for example, or a shaman, or a disc priest, or not even a shadow priest. You can supplement with consumes and engineering to cover those weaknesses and those gaps. Like a warrior will never beat a mage without free action potion and grenades or anything like that. It all just helps. That's what's interesting about vanilla that the other expansions don't have, is that whereas they expand your toolkit in the other expansions, vanilla doesn't have that. So engineering and consumables cover that. They are your timers.
Yep.
So to speak.
Yep. And then FAPs and everything else, that really turns the tide of PvP completely. But I don't know. I still kind of wish BGs didn't have those, or at least we had like rated BGs that didn't have them, and regular BGs could. You know, there's a place for fun, and then a place for, you know, like more arena style BGs with less, you know, access to consumes. But at the same time, you know, like you said, if arena was put into SOD right now and you couldn't use engineering, well, SOD, bad example. If it was just put into vanilla and you couldn't use engineering, I mean, it would be pretty dunzo for most classes.
Yeah, it'd be extremely lopsided, and you know, I'm an advocate for RBGs and SOD or Classic Plus as well, and you know, we can you know, capitalize further on that. But there are a few reasons why I think consumes and engineering should stay in, is because they replace your cooldowns of TBC and Wrath, and you know, there's counterplay to it because vanilla is a role based game rather than a individual player turning the tide of everything. And battlegrounds in vanilla are actually more of a finessing the map and map control type of game. And when you use a free action potion, it's a power cooldown. You can use it solo or you can use it as a group as a power play. And there's counters to it. You can dispel free action potion and etc. And you can cover it with Noggin Fogger elixirs. Yeah. And by doing this, you cause them to react to that power move. And you got to counter it with dispels, or else, you know, they're just going to walk all over your backline, etc.
Yeah, what's crazy in SOD right now is just to think a Flask of Titans is easy as pie to, you know, you do your dailies, you know, in Blackrock Mountain, and you can get 3 Flask of the Titans. And then, you know, it used to be towards the end of Classic 2019, we'd have like a fun weekend night where we'd all, you know, queue up the guild 15-man Arathi Basin, and the one rich guy would give everybody 1 Flask of the Titans, and we just roll for the next 2 hours. You know, that's something you couldn't do in Classic 2019, like, for the most part. The only reason we were able to do it was because we had a rich guildie.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, even in Classic, you'd have the teams, and even in Season of Mastery, I played Season of Mastery. You know, AB weekend, everybody knew that there was going to be the most prepared pre-made coming up in there with Flask of the Titans, Supreme Power, Greater Nature Protection Potions, Immolation Aura, or you know, the Oil of Immolation to spin flags and everything like that. And the interesting thing about vanilla,
I didn't even know that would break them out.
Yeah, it gets stealth out and everything, and you can spin
add that
flags
to my toolbox. Oh my god, yeah. That's got no cooldown either. Oh my god.
Yeah, but wow. The interesting thing about vanilla is that it's a game of preparation and knowledge above all else. And you know, the barrier to entry to vanilla is actually low, which is why I think that it's actually popular for casuals, because it doesn't take much for you to get in there. But the skill ceiling can be so high with different combinations of consumables and engineering, you know, like Oil of Immolation, that, you know, a lot of people don't know about that, or using invisibility potions, you know, in Warsong Gulch, while you have an annoying druid that's running away, you can't catch him, and, you know, you have an Ellie shaman that just pops an invis potion and meets him when he comes out of the tunnel and just blows him up. You know, there's a lot of different very niche things you can do, you know, with, you know, Gnomish Ned and Goblin Mortar or Tidal Charm or whatever you have available to you.
Even more so in SOD. I've been thinking about this, but haven't been able to get into a Arathi Basin at all. But with the new boots from Hydraxian Waterlords, you can use those boots. Say you're at you know, stables, you could use those boots and just mount up and go straight to blacksmith, you know, without any warning, you know, and quick. And so I've been wondering about that type of tech. And then you talk about other tech, like I have slow fall at a moment's notice with the beer that I collected thousands of during Christmas, and they all stacked in one spot, and Blizzard never fixed it. So I just have anytime slow fall. Things like that are crazy.
Yeah, the slow fall is another one too, because people just don't think about these items and their usefulness. And on Psalm Season of Mastery, there was a pre-made that we would go up against all the time, and there was one game I remember still to this day where we normally would meet at Blacksmith and fight it out. Well, this time they forced us all to the lumber mill, all of us. So we only sent one to Blacksmith to cap. Well, as soon as we got to the top at lumber mill, they just jumped off the cliff, the entire team, and floated down to Blacksmith, and they capped it. They beat us to it. They gave up lumber mill, which is fine because they got the Blacksmith. They wanted the triangle.
Yep.
But it's always, I mean, the volume and the unlimited options you can have with consumables and engineering is just off the charts. I mean, you can find new things every day, especially when new items in SOD comes out or Classic Plus. And that's why I think that there really shouldn't be an effort to remove these things, as there's always a counter to them. And I believe that it just adds to the depth of the game. And if we look at the Makarad tournament, part of the popularity of that tournament, and it was a very popular tournament, popular. It was one of the biggest tournaments they have ever done, and OTK.
Yep.
And the whole fun of the tournament was starting from the beginning with that risk factor that you can lose before you even start.
Mm-hmm.
And the build up to this, and these people collecting these items and this gear, and coming up with crazy resistance gear, getting items like Violet Targon, which is an item you get, trying to get Noggenfogger elixir. And what it does is it causes damage to you, which breaks blinds and sheeps and everything else like that.
You got sticky glue you get early on.
Oh, yeah.
You got marbles you get on the Alliance side. You got all kinds of weird stuff. I've saved it all in SOD, too. I haven't used any of that stuff just in case there was some tournament or something that happened.
Yeah, and it's the whole fun of the vanilla PvP is the preparation. That's what gives you your power besides your knowledge. You don't have to actually be an insane MLG gamer to be good at vanilla. Your knowledge and preparation is everything.
Yep.
But the Makarad tournament had a huge viewing, and these players are using consumables. They're using engineering to get ahead of the curve and to cover their class's weaknesses.
Yep. We had quite a few of my current guild in SOD were in the Makarad tournament.
Yeah, I had a few friends myself. I know Bobka and
Bobka's in my guild.
Okay, yeah, Perplexity and Zico and all these people. A lot of these people I had played with before, and if I had time, I would have loved to come up in there and play it too. Time's been a little bit tight since after COVID, but that's just the way it goes.
So where are you playing in SOD?
So I actually am not playing right now. There was a period of time where I was moving, and the move got delayed and everything. So I didn't have a PC or I had a PC, but I wasn't plugged up for like a month.
Ooh,
so I just haven't really got back into it. A lot of my friends have. I stopped playing around the end of Phase 3. But a lot of my buddies that I play with have moved on since Takata. They're playing RBGs or they're playing Battlegrounds on Era or whatever. I think a lot of them and are a little bit unhappy with Battlegrounds and SOD, because that's the main reason we play. Yep. Is Battlegrounds, and we loved Phase 1. Phase 1 was great. I mean, you had 300 Warsong games up.
Oh, it was fantastic. Instant queues. And
4 out of 5 games were versus pre-mades. I mean, it's fun to go in there and do that. And, this game, I know there's people out there that, they don't like pre-mades in the game. But my argument is that everything in Vanilla WoW is a group and community-based, thing. You go to dungeons, you get 5 people, you get a raid group for a raid. There's elite quest you group up for, but for some reason, some people believe that PvP shouldn't be that way.
Which is weird because you wouldn't go to a 15-man raid or a 10-man raid with 0 healers, but you go to Battlegrounds a lot with 0 healers, and then sometimes you get 5 out of your 10, healers, and then all of a sudden you're working an uphill battle and you're never able to actually secure kills, and it's weird. And people have said, oh, do the whole you can queue as your role, but people are just going to pick the role that
gets them the queues.
Yeah. And so I don't know, they could look at spec, I guess, maybe, but I mean that's hard to do too, and that's a lot of system to build. And
I just think the easiest thing
is to have it the way it was before. I don't know if that's what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's just why even spend the resources on a role system and everything else when you can just put pre-mades back in the game. I mean, they were still doing it in phase 2 and 3, like when the queues were actually popping. They're still queuing in 5-man groups, so obviously people want to group up. Nothing changed. Well, it's just that nobody wants to sit in an hour-long queue.
Exactly. Okay, so Dan, I was going to pose the question as you see a lot of the haters on pre-mades will be like, you can still queue pre-made, but every pre-made is just not going to do that because they know that now they're going to have to wait a longer queue, and even if there's 10 pre-mades going, 5 on each side, but then there's 400 other people queuing, you're going to get into a game way quicker than if it's just 10, and I don't know. It was not that hard to join a pre-made. It really wasn't. You could do it straight out of chat. They weren't always the best, but if you found a group you liked, you asked them, hey, do you have a Discord server? Or usually they would spam it, you jump in, and then all of a sudden, over a course of a few days of just joining pugs, you're in 3 or 4 different, you're in 3 or 4 different Discords that just do PvP, BGs, and pre-mades. So it's not a hard thing to get into really at all, unless you're a bad class, like a class that's overplayed and isn't needed as much in the BG. That does kind of suck, but it's life.
Yeah, and pre-mades from every past server that I've played on. I mean, pre-mades on an early fresh server, this is where your server bonds are formed. This is where guilds recruit from. This is where you make your same faction enemies and your cross faction enemies. It is the driving force of the rest of the server. It basically determines, kind of the direction that people go, and it sets the narrative, so to speak.
I would agree with all of that, except for in Classic, since we queue across all of NA. I don't know that we ever actually. Now back in Vanilla, we totally did. I still remember the Tauren Warrior Turbo, who just used to beat the crap out of me, and I never would be able to beat him. Oh, it drove me nuts. But I saw him almost every day. Yeah, but we don't. I don't know that we really have that. Although we do run into them though. You can't remember their names, but I still do. I still mark my spy kill on sight list if I really hate somebody and they're on a different server, and I still run into them in other games. So I just, don't remember all of their names, but spy's there to help me for that,
Yeah, and I do kind of agree with the cross server or the entire region queuing. It kind of takes away from that small server identity. But when you're queuing as a pre-made and you remember this pre-made that you fought before, and that was a 30-minute game, and that was tough. You're like, oh, it's them. Hey, it's them, guys. Yep. And then you throw up your food buffs. That's part of the fun of pre-mades, is the anticipation of getting a team that they're good, and you have an ego and you don't want to lose, and they're the same way.
Well, and usually when we would get into those, we'd be like, all right, what was the biggest problem in the last one? And it'd be like, oh, this one healer was just ungodly. All right, focus them or see them to knock out a couple targets, like that. You'd figure out different weaknesses, and then maybe you would beat them the next time, which was cool.
Yeah, but when you just, I feel like that was removed from SOD when they removed pre-maze, and a lot of people kind of lost motivation after that because, they were trying to queue as 10, they were testing the queues, and then we went to 5s. And yeah, queuing as a small group has its place and it's fun. It's actually fun to queue up as a small group, like 3 or 4 man, and actually fight full pre-mates. A lot of people play the game for that, and they went back to Era so they could do that. Because it's just not happening on SOD. I just think that they just need to go back to the way it was. That's 300 games up. Right now, there's none, which there's other issues with that in Alterac Valley, which we can also cover too.
Well, and then I'll even go further. I don't know if it's still a problem. I did message Agrend a couple times about it, but in phase 3, like even the solo queuers were losing. We could do Arathi Basin or Warsong Gulch. If we queued with 4 or 5 in a group, we got 10-minute queues. If you queued solo, 30 to 50-minute queues. And at the same time of day, like literally, you'd be in a queue for 40 minutes. You'd be like, all right, fine. And you'd just join the people saying, hey, looking for a group. You just get 4 to 5 people, queue, and then 10 minutes later, you're in. It was the most bizarre thing. You would think as a solo player, you would get in before group players, but it was a really weird thing. I don't know if they fixed it or not, but I don't know because I can't queue for AB or Warsong right now. So.
Yeah, there's no way to test it. It almost makes you wonder if it's that way for solo players because the queue is full of just 5-man groups queuing. And when you match, 2 5-mans in a 10-man battleground, there's no room for a single if you do it in AB. Right. So, it's my, I'm kind of suspicious that maybe the solo players that didn't like pre-mates, I almost wonder if they're the minority because what the queues we saw in phase 1 versus now is just way different.
Yeah, I think they're very loud. It's hard to tell, but they're definitely loud. I don't know if they're the minority, but they're definitely loud. But see, I'm in my own, I'm in a group. I'm in a guild with a ton of content creators that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full raids going right now in Molten Core. We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So we have all kinds of access, if we did want to do pre-mades and everything else. And it's just like, content creators are much more outgoing and, I'm living a privileged life throughout SOD, whereas other people might be in a different boat. But like you're saying, fair. The pre-mades, people might have been making more friends, as phase 2 and 3 went on, so if we still had the pre-mades.
Yeah, I just think it's just. I think it's something. I think it's a prime example of just because people complain about something does not mean there's an issue.
Yep.
But I would like to see them try to bring it back. But at the same time, we also have Alterac Valley out, which is also a problem in and of itself, and has been really since Classic 2019, even on private servers.
Well, then the rep being available through other means so easily, that's kind of a problem too.
Yeah, giving the AB rep away for, essentially free with the Blood Moon was a huge reason why AB doesn't pop. I mean, I'm willing to bet that there's probably been less than 500 AB pops on SOD period, if I were to just take a wild guess.
In phase 4?
In phase 2, when the rep came out, I'm willing to bet that there's probably 500 games period that have never popped on the game. But the thing is that when you make the rep easy, yeah, sure, it helps you achieve your goal easier, but you remove the friction that is, grinding a reputation, and you remove that from people later on. it's the same thing with Warsong. It's like, well, why would I queue it if I already have my rep? So the only reason to queue any BG at all is to target the highest honor per hour battleground, if that's all you care about. Why would I go to Warsong if I don't need the rep? Why would I go to Basin if I don't need the rep? All I need is honor, so I just go to Alterac Valley.
Or you do even better, you get a group together and you go to Black Rock Mountain every other hour.
Yeah, I'm hearing that that's the best honor per hour you can get.
It's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Because everybody's like not everybody, but a vast majority is ranked 7 or higher. So you get more honor from, just higher ranked players. And then on top of it, it's triple honor in there. And, it's gotten better. They put in the thing where you run fast when you die, like they put into the blood boon, and you're invulnerable. So the people trying to get into dungeons can. But I mean, they're still getting that first kill on you, and they're just like camping one choke point, and then groups are moving in on each other a little bit. But really, all the PvP is groups sitting at different choke points, not really fighting each other, but just killing people as they go through.
Yeah, it's not PvP. It's just they're just farming honor, like they're sitting at a flight point in Eastern Plaguelands or something. It's the same concept.
Exactly.
It's not actually PvP.
Yeah, it's not fun for. It's probably not fun for them. It's not fun for me. Like on either side of the coin, it might be fun for real shitters. I don't know, but it's not fun for me.
Yeah, I think like your last show, I think making it a battleground would have been the way to go. I mean, there's already plenty of PvP in that zone. There's already plenty of PvP in Stranglethorn Vale. I don't think people really need a real reason to for world PvP. I think it just happens organically,
Yeah. So, all right. So, where do you want to? We kind of just went right into pre-mades. I don't know if that's where you wanted to start, but do you want to go down to your list and we'll hit on each piece, or how's that sound?
Yeah, well, I think that the pre-mades are one of the driving forces in Battlegrounds being dead, or having the pre-made nerf. I think it takes away the social dynamics of the game. I just think that it's one of the main reasons why, because there are a lot of people that don't want to queue Battlegrounds without their friends, and I don't really blame them. It's not always fun to play with people who, go into the Battlegrounds and they're AFK, or, they're playing with people who are, maybe not on the same wavelength as them. They're not playing objectives. They're fighting on roads, whatever. One point I wanted to cover with, the PvP imbalance is classes and class power in SOD are very different than vanilla right now. So you have these runes, and phase 3, phase 2, really every phase, you were kind of playing a class with runes. You weren't really playing a spec. So, for example, I think that runes, since you're able to equip any rune at any time for any reason, I think that classes, they don't really have any weaknesses when you can swap willy-nilly. And I'll give you an example. I switched to Enhance in phase 2, which everybody remembers the Enhanced Shamans, how crazy they were. And you could take a tank rune, which would, boost your hit points and your defense, and you were already hitting like a truck. So here I am, an Enhancement Shaman, just running through Warsong Gulch, and I've got 2 hunters and a mage blasting me, and I'm just not dying. I'm just popping, decoy totem, running right to them. And I have, a healer healing me, and I have 7,000 hit points. Enhance was so, it was overboard because the tax of the spec was gone. So I think if runes were more specialized to specs, I think that it would be better, because, enhancement didn't lose anything because now you're a tank. And it was the same thing with Elemental Shaman. You're a tank and you're dishing out all this damage and you're just not dying. And in phase 3, when Shamans got Riptide, it's like, why even be a healer? You can just heal yourself. So the hybrid tax has gone from the hybrids, so to speak. And I think that if runes would have,
okay, no, go, yeah, get through that last part, but I got a counter for you.
okay, I think if the runes were more specialized, like I think if decoy totem was an enhancement specific ability, I think if lava burst was elemental specific, and tank was tank specific, and riptide was resto specific, I think PvP would be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah. Okay. So what's interesting is I interviewed a few devs prior to phase 1 coming out. It's it's on the channel if anybody wants to go back. But I interviewed the devs, and one of my questions was, are you worried about the tank runes being abused in PvP? And they gave an answer about how the power level is higher and everything, but I still saw a problem with it way before SOD even released. And so, yeah, and now we're sitting here, and the tank, tank specs in phase 4 are absolutely out of control. I mean, across the board, like maybe not rogue, but the tank specs, the rest of them are just like absolutely nuts. Like Paladin is absurd. But then like for rogue, you have to really, to utilize the tank rune, you have to have two different runes, and they kind of knock out some of your best PvP options. So it's not really a thing, but I'm sure other classes don't have that and can just get 6% crit immunity and damage reduction, which is kind of crazy to me. But
yeah, we experienced that in Warsong Gulch with tank runes on the Druid, the flag carrier. So I know what you mean.
Well, and then in phase 1, you had the tank rune on top of the helm that gave you 5% crit immunity. Like I don't know if they stacked, but that was another thing. But my counter was, okay, I think you're right, but I think they could do something in the middle for like a classic plus. Like for instance, like they could set up the runes in the talent trees, and in each tree you could have a set of like 2 runes, like maybe 2 or 3, I don't know, that basically when you take that talent, you have access to those 2 or 3 runes, and that would be on a specific slot, or it doesn't even need to be in a slot. You just you could change those as necessary throughout the world, but you'd only be able to get like, there'd be one halfway down a tree, and then one all the way down a tree, or you could have 3 stuttered through there. But either way, you'd only be able to get like, say, half of the rune options that you have full access to right now, and it'd be through talents. And then you'd have a little bit more of a change, like you could, for tanks, they could have like, an AoE rune or a single target rune, that like change how they tank. So, they weren't the best at both at any one time, but you could mix and match, instead of, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Is like, I do like the rune system, but I think it's a little too much. And I do think it should be gated by talents, but I would love to keep some aspect of it in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I actually love the idea of runes being, I guess gate kept, as you would say, by your specific talents, because what that does is it creates consistency in your classes and your specs. Right now, I think the runes blur the line of roles in this game, and roles in PvP and vanilla are very important and are actually the defining feature of PvP. So when you blur that line, it's almost like you don't know what you're fighting. Everybody does the same thing. They're killing you in 2 seconds, and nobody's taking any damage, and everybody's healing themselves. And when you specialize the runes, it makes for a more consistent environment, which I think that SOD kind of lacks, at least for when I played up till phase 3. I think that it would be a lot better to balance, because you can't balance the game when everybody can just randomly mix match runes, and it may even be more consistent and easier to balance when you specify specific runes to specific specs and roles.
Yep,
But I love
can
that
see
idea.
that.
I love that idea. That's a great idea. I've never even thought about that, but
I just thought about it now. I've been listening to a lot of Classic Plus talk, like Countdown to Classic podcast has been doing a lot too. And I kind of like, I heard a lot of people talking about wanting it in talents. And I was just like, oh man, I really like the aspect of the runes though, and being able to just kind of like switch up a little bit of your spec. And for DPS, you could do the same thing. You could switch out a rune for, better AoE, like, your Blade Fury, like you'd have a rune that, could like split it into 3 targets, but instead it does, like, only like it does less damage, it drops down to 75% of your damage goes across the other targets, stuff like that, stuff to just kind of like tweak you a little bit and give you a different look for different fights. It just leaves more open to ingenuity, but doesn't go a little too crazy.
Yeah, I think I definitely think specialization and runes being more tied to those specs makes it more consistent. But also, I think that having the flexibility makes it a little bit more interesting. At least when you fight a specific class, I bring up Shaman because I'm a Shaman main. You're fighting an LE Shaman, or you're fighting an Enhanced Shaman, or he's Resto, and there's no kind of crazy inconsistent quirks that you don't know about that may change every other week.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of another big thing for us, was everything was constantly changing. And I do like that SOD has given classes a lot better viability. I love the Shaman tank idea. I love the Paladin tank idea, making the, what we would call the meme specs more viable.
The mage
really
healer
great.
is weird, but
yeah, I'm not really a fan of the mage healer, and I'm not really a fan of the warlock tank either. But I do like the tank specs and the meme specs being better. I wish that the meme specs would provide more, I guess, of a raid utility role than just trying to make, like an enhanced shaman compete with a warrior. I think that they could have something kind of like, unleashed rage, or maybe their enhancing totems is like triple the output of normal totems. Maybe an LE shaman's fire totems are 3 times as strong, or whatever, just something that more defines the spec. But I think this will be more consistent in PvP as well.
Cool. So what do you want to move to next? I'm not really sure where you wanted to move to next. We're just kind of spitballing.
Let's go to the battlegrounds, the dead battlegrounds. Warsong and AB. From my understanding, on Warsong and AB weekend in phase 4, they don't even pop, right? Maybe 1 game or something, and everybody's an AB.
I saw consistently. I checked it constantly while I was queuing for AV. And I'm almost exalted with it. I've been slow on that, so that's why I've been doing that. But it was AB Arathi Basin weekend this weekend, and the most games that I saw going were 2, but I did see consistently 1 going. But that means your queue is going to be forever with that. And so, yeah, so we didn't even really try. Plus, the only times, if I was going to try, I would have probably tried with a group of 5. And we were, this entire weekend trying to catch up one of my buddies so he could make it into Heat 2 tonight. So we were doing a lot of dungeons and a lot of stuff to get him fire res. And so didn't really have time with whatever the friends got on. So I solo queued AV, just trying to work on rep. But yeah, it's, and then I literally haven't seen an AB for 2 weeks prior to that. And I'll see like maybe one Warsong Gulch at times, but I check it basically every time I queue. So it's been consistently nothing. And this is during prime time.
Yeah, the thing about the battleground queues is there's a snowball effect type of element that, comes into play. So when people see that there's no queues, they just won't queue. And then it'll just stay like that. It really goes for most anything in the game, including like 10-mans. Like people see the 10-mans aren't popping, so they're not playing 10-mans. It's the same thing with Basin and Warsong Gulch. And part of the reason is because Alterac Valley of Honor, it's just the best option. And I have to bring up that Alterac Valley has been a problem even before Classic 2019. It's been the same thing on private servers. Alterac Valley is actually the only battleground that you can play the way that Blizzard did not intend and profit from it. So, they made these towers and these NPCs and these commanders across the map, but everybody completely ignores them and run past them, which obviously that's not what they intended. The honor may be too high off, across the board in general, but I think that there's a couple of ways that you can fix Alterac Valley to make it, emulate what it's supposed to be better. One idea that I had was you could put a permanent divine shield on the bosses, Drek and Vandar, and you can't bust that shield until the towers are burned. You have to burn the towers in order to get that shield down. And I think that this will incentivize PvP in the game because they know that you can't win unless the towers are burned. So they may go and defend their towers, to keep you from, doing it and breaking that shield. And, you have to make sure your towers don't get ninja'd. So you got to have some hefty defense in there, to keep people from coming and doing it.
It's the tower system isn't very fair either. In my opinion, Horde towers are way easier to defend. They're way easier to half AFK and watch Netflix defend, whereas the Alliance towers have that big open area, and there's really only one spot you can stand to catch stealthies coming out of stealth on either side of the wall by the flag. I used to, when I was playing Alliance, I used to ninja back our towers easy as pie because people would stand by the flag on the left or the right, and I'd just stand in the little corner on the other side, and then all of a sudden I'd cap it back and they'd look around like, well, but it's just like, it's so easy to guard the Horde towers, and you can hit through the back of the wall on the Horde towers, so you're getting to hit them before they even get into you. And I don't know, the towers are problematic for me. The whole battleground, I'm just not a big fan of. I don't know if you could fix it maybe that way, but then maybe just less people would play it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of people,
which I'm fine with, less people playing it.
100%. I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of people that play Battlegrounds that hate Battlegrounds, and their suggestions for the Battlegrounds are only based on an honor per hour standpoint. And once they're done with that, you never hear from them again. So I think if people don't want to play a Battleground and they complain about it, I say, let them walk away. Let the people that like these Battlegrounds play it. Let these people play the Battleground the way it's supposed to be. But, even if you don't put a divine shield on the bosses, you could have, absurd stat lines on these bosses and marshals to the point where, these sod tanks with 12,000 hit points, they can't tank them. And you need to, maybe not destroy all the towers and he loses stats or whatever, but you got to slow the game down, or it's just going to be the best Battleground you can pick and sod by a mile. You got to slow the game down. I think it goes beyond just nerfing honor. You may not even have to. You could.
Oh, sorry. Go.
You could change it. You could change it little by little, and just kind of see how it works out. But the root of the problem is rushing to the end boss, and I think that's where if you were to fix Alterac Valley, you need to start there, start at the end boss, and then work back.
Maybe think of something. You could have something where each tower, or maybe you say it's just the first 2 towers, on either side, like anything past the first 2 towers. Like I'm thinking if you're Horde, you come to that second tower and then down the hill, there's just 200 NPCs that, just basically like archers or something, like, can you imagine like 50 archers just across the hill? And anybody trying, anybody besides stealth would just get blown up, but once you take one of the towers, half of them disappear. Once you take the next tower, the other half disappear that are closer to the base, and then it gets to the final base on each side. Like that could be something that would definitely slow it down, because you just wouldn't be able to run past. Rogues could, sneak in there. You could have a little stealth party, but, that's kind of cool too. Have a little stealth party that goes and caps early and pulls some of the front line back so that you guys can take the towers down, the first towers. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a thing. Or you could also bring back the minefields, and the minefields respawn and they go away as you cap the towers. There's a lot of a lot of different things you can do to emulate. The Alterac Valley is supposed to emulate this like battlefield.
Yeah, this push and pull of a huge battle back and forth.
Yeah, but something's got to be done, or nothing's ever going to change in SOD Battlegrounds unless something is done. And I know that they're aware of it. I know they said they wanted to make Warsong and Arathi Basin better. I think you can't leave AV alone though. You have to make some changes there.
Yeah, one big thing that I don't know. There's a lot that could possibly fix Alterac Valley, but I don't know. I just want Arathi Basin back, if I'm being honest. And I wouldn't mind having a Battle for Gilneas, I think it's called, from Kata, like the 3-person or the 3-base AB is basically what it is. I just think those are the best PGs.
Yeah, I'd love more Battlegrounds and SOD and Classic Plus and everything else. And, I have a few ideas of Battleground replayability as well, for things like AB and Warsong, because, obviously nobody is queuing those. And I know a lot of people, I think the general consensus is that AB is a great BG, and it doesn't really have a whole lot of issues besides very minute details, like distance to, each node, or the north versus the south triangle, etc. I know a lot of people complain about Warsong. I know that they say, that the druid can run around forever, and generally he can, and people want a timer. The problem with putting a timer in and ending the game is, what's a good timer amount? Because what are you going to set it at? 40 minutes? Because that might be, people might say that's too long. Yeah. I mean, I've played a lot of Warsong. It's my favorite battleground, and a lot of the best games, a lot of the most high octane, at the edge of your seat games, they last a little while. They're 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I've been in games for an hour that were just nonstop pressure, fuel.
I was in one in phase 1. I was in one with no hit Jerome for 3 hours, and he would not let us give up. We were like, "Come on,
I play with Jerome." Yeah, I play with Jerome.
Well, so yeah, there's all kinds of stuff we've thought about with Warsong, like having the flag become visible, having it put debuffs, having it do actual damage to people, like stuff like that. But what I want to go back on is, you said incentives for playing Arathi Basin or Warsong Gulch or any of the BGs after you don't need honor and you don't need rep. And I think the answer is obvious. I've been saying it for ever now. I don't even know. It might even been before SOD, but we had, like, for instance, we have the reals, right? And getting 5 of those, is taking on 5 different bosses, right? And then you could use 5 of those to buy the little goody Happy Meals, and you can gamble and have a good time seeing what you get, right? What if you had those same things for AB marks, AV marks, Warsong Gulch marks, and then, to get 5 of those, you have to win a game and at least lose 2 or win 2 games. Games are generally you'd have to have an up, if they went with what we have right now for AV, everything would have to be double or triple the price for those marks, but for the other ones, or just don't even give anything for the AV marks. Give it for just Warsong and just AB, and then people can get consumes and money from doing the thing that they love.
That's what I was going to say, man. Actually, the mark being a currency system is probably the best way to make people play those battlegrounds, even if they're not PvPers. You can have, a commendations box from certain turn-ins, and you get, maybe there's a couple of potions and a free action potion in there, or bandages, or stuff that you can use outside of and inside the BG. Another option is, if you really want to see battlegrounds take off, buddy, I mean, you can require let's say for great honor turn-ins, you can combine these marks, and you can get a world buff from these marks.
I've suggested that too, for people that don't. For people that want to PvP but still raid, people want to do different stuff with their free time.
Yeah. You could put a world buff in there, make it cost, X amount of marks or whatever, and you can boon the world buff. And it doesn't even have to be an extremely powerful world buff. It could be 2% crit and something X amount of stats or whatever. But another idea that I had was a cosmetic style of rewards that you can buy. I noticed that in SOD Phase 4, the Heat Level 3 items, I think it's Perdition's Blade has a special glow on it.
There's a few different ones, and you get the item and then you add it to Perdition's Blade and it changes it. But it doesn't change the model, which I love, because I'm not a big fan of transmog. So it doesn't change the model. I'm not either. It just changes the appearance and the look, and you could go all crazy with that too, and have, gear, shoulders that, go on fire, or something when you do a certain move. I really love, I just got a new rogue sword now on Major Domo. There's another item. There's the leaf. There's the whatever, the orb for priest, and then there's a new rogue offhand sword where you build a sword, then you upgrade it inside BRD, then you add this item to it, and anytime I do Blade Fury, it procs the sword to set on fire. And those types of things are pretty cool and add spice, but don't totally change the gear. But they're a prestige thing, that you can be like, oh, I did the hardest thing,
Yeah, just simple prestige,
horse armor.
Yeah, I mean, something as simple as that, maybe you have an enchant that fits a red paladin well, or you have an enchant that fits a shaman well. I would even, that's provides a lot of replayability to get these. You get a new item, you want to buy this thing for this item, you want this item to glow this way, or you want your armor, you could armor dyes, for example. You could change the color of your armor through these marks, and every time you get a new piece, you go get it, you go buy another one. Yep. Which, we could even go so far as to say, if they could implement some sort of rated, battlegrounds mode in Classic Plus, where, you can achieve a certain rating, and it doesn't even have to provide gear that's better than rank 14. What it can do is provide the same gear but with a different look. Like you could have the Horde one, the Horde axe could be, like a Dark Edge of Insanity, but it's black with a Horde emblem instead of an eyeball. You could do the same with Alliance. There's special glows from that. You could have a special, like a War Bear mount, stuff that doesn't break the game, but is worth grinding for. I think that's where they can capitalize on in-game PvP, is just these types of prestige cosmetic rewards or titles or whatever, and
Yep.
you can do it for both casuals and the hardcore players. They have something to grind for beyond the raids. And that's kind of something that I feel Classic. There's just nothing there for that aspect other than fun. That's all that people are playing for right now is just fun. But if you add to that, you keep the queues rolling, and that's the most important part, is keeping the queues rolling, because it's a snowball effect. Even in phase 6, the last phase, battlegrounds usually fall off. I mean, the battlegrounds would still be popping if you implemented the stuff we're talking about. I mean, it would be fail proof. They would queue the game. They would queue the battlegrounds.
Yeah, it'd be cool. And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that you could add to it that people would be incentivized to grab, even though it doesn't like change their actual power level. What do you got next? What do you got?
Well, the main things I wanted to cover were, why I think people may, have pulled away from SOD and what could make it better. But this is for future seasons too, because I'm looking forward to Classic Plus, but PvP is the main factor, and I don't want people to think that it can't be competitive either for these type of RBGs for this type of gear. But if you keep the hamster wheel spinning for these game modes, these battlegrounds, the game will stay strong for its entirety up till phase 6. And new battlegrounds, I think, are also something that should be looked into. I know that you said you wanted the Black Rock Mountain event to be instanced.
Yeah, that was Hello J Tello's idea.
That's a great idea. And also there should be I think that there could be various places throughout the world, like if they ever if Mount Highjaw was ever a thing, you could have a scarce resource out there similar to Black Lotus and Devil Star Leather, something that's phase 7 or phase 8 resource that people need, and keep it rare. And you'll see those same type of activities, people flocking over there to farm it, people wanting to control this area. There's all kinds of different things you can do, but it's got to be natural. People have to just want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think back to phase 3. One of the most fun times that Swamp as a guild had was when we found out that there was only this one mob in Eastern Plague Lands that had a chance to drop righteous orbs, and the enchant was like in the game, and like we were fighting. Bobka was just like getting people over there to protect the party, farming them, and we were fighting Alliance, and it was a huge battle, but for a resource. And I didn't like the fact that it was in, if I'm being honest, like the whole righteous orb for one thing, but if you have a few places like that where the resource is scarce, just not that scarce, I think it'd be really cool. And I don't know did we talk about it on the podcast, or did we talk about it in pre-show, where it's just we both agree that the world events don't work when they're not formed organically.
Yeah, this was pre-show. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had a good idea and good intentions for these world PvP events, but ultimately there's people there that are only doing it for the honor, or they're buying their item from it and they're gone, and then the event falls off. But when you put a resource in, that doesn't die. Let's just take Mount Highjaw for example. I mean, I would imagine there would probably be elite rock elementals walking around. The big giants that are in Meridon, the rock giants. I mean, what if those guys were padding around in a pattern, and sometimes they dropped an arcane crystal or something because it's kind of a crystal monster. I mean, just different things like that. Or like you said, a righteous orb on that one mob or something like that. Maybe if there's ever a scarlet extension on the map somewhere, those magus drop, have a chance to drop righteous orbs or whatever. These natural anomalies in the world are the best PvP. They're the most organic PvP, and they're easier for really anyone to organize if they want them. If you want the stuff, you'll find a way to go get it.
Yep, like in phase 1 with the goblin shredders. Like that was a huge PvP spot, and people were trying to steal each other's kills all the time. They were trying to, wait their stealth, and then right after they loot it, they just harvest the thing. But that created a PvP moment, and it was horrible on PvP servers. But that's what made it good. Like, you're like, dude, I'm not gonna go do this by myself. Hey, Jimmy, Timmy, Molly, you guys want to run do these real quick? Oh, you already did them. All right, well, I'll help you with something after if you need some help with something after. Okay, sweet, let's go. Like that's what an MMO is supposed to be. You're supposed to reach out for help when you need help. And I think that's why I'd never play on anything but a PvP server.
Yeah, it's just the aspect of friction. I mean, you have to have that friction, and it keeps you engaged. It's just a overworld feeling, like you're accomplishing something, you're doing something. And I know that there's people that complain about that kind of stuff. Like, there's complaint about the Devil's Soul. Oh, they're taking all the leather and they're making a price. But the fix is to go down there and kill them.
Yeah,
and take it yourself. That's the fix.
If you don't want to do that, there's layers. Like people, people don't want layers, but it is a compromise that goes like, we can't control every layer. If there's 5, 10 layers, like you can't control it during that time. So you can layer if you want to, but if not, other people, I'm the type of person that likes to waste time trying to kill somebody who pissed me off. And it makes it more real. It makes it more fun. And then when that person kills me, I'm just like, gosh, damn it.
Yeah. I used to, when we were doing Crater back in 2019, Stay Safe's guild were constantly challenging us. And it got to the point where they were getting very annoying and problematic. And I would actually fly across the world and find, one of the guys that's in charge of coming down there all the time. And I would find him, he'd be in Azara doing something, and I'd sit there and kill him and camp him for hours. And he'd call friends out there, and I'd kill them, and I'd call more people. And that was all an ego game. It was like, hey, if you mess with us, don't mess with us. This, we'll spend this much time doing this. And that just creates the social dynamic, the rivalries that make this stuff so good. But
yep, agreed.
Yeah, the game definitely has a lot of PvP potential, and it is, the PvP in the game is more popular than people give it credit for. It really is. It's an end game to a lot of people. If you go and like you log on like Era, for example, there's war songs popping over there. There's 6 going on during the week or whatever. People are playing it. It's an end game to a lot of people.
Yeah, but, I think it gets, as the expansions went on, I think people get less and less excited to do PvP because the barrier to entry is so much higher. There's cooldown tracking and everything else under the sun. Then we didn't kill them, rinse, repeat, yada yada. That's where I ran into the problems. I stopped really enjoying the PvP in Wrath, to be honest.
Yeah, it became too serious. And a lot of people don't. They just want a game that they can have fun with their friends, and group up with their friends and do stuff. You don't have to be a multi gladiator to PvP in vanilla. It's just a fun, casual game. It can have its competitive aspects, but it's just the barrier of entry is so low, and that's why so many people like to PvP there. But I think that this is a great time for them to start experimenting with paying attention to PvP, because from what it looks like, they're doing a great job with PvE. It looks like people love the raids and the PvE and the specs, but why don't we try to spin things around, in phase 5 and
just some incentive.
Yeah,
some incentive. We've given plenty of options and plenty of ideas that they could maybe capitalize on, but I hope they do. But I also think the barrier to entry in PvP is just, it's hard because like right now, your best chance to get a good PvP spec is to go to a streamer that PvPs in that spec, because there isn't a Wowhead article, that's any good. There isn't, like like in Classic 2019, you look up Warrior, PvP spec, and it's pretty much across the board agreed on this one spec. Arms, certain amount in here, certain amount there. There's a few little tweaks you could maybe do, but not much. Whereas like in SOD throughout the phases, just think of Rogue, lots of our specs have been so different. And I actually am using Bobka's spec right now for phase 4 for PvP, but I tweaked it a little bit to more be like my gameplay. And, it fits for me, but a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. They're like, I want somebody to tell me what to click and put into boxes, And so
yeah,
I think that's a lot of people that are like that. So the resources are rough, and, content creators have been, I talked to a lot of them. They're scared to put out videos, like, because they don't know if it's going to change. They don't want to have to keep going back to their video and saying edit. Like Simon Eyes, you'll notice he goes back and re-edits the comments, the pinned comment in his every time something changes that changes his video. And it's just like, I don't think you need to do that, but content creators don't want to have videos out that are wrong, so it's kind of hard for them right now.
Yeah, they put a bunch of time into making a video, and then the next week it changes, with a buff or a nerf that nobody saw coming. And that's one of my bigger complaints too, is that everything was constantly changing. And it just goes back to my point of consistency, which I think is one of the largest reasons PvP is lacking. I think people just get frustrated with that. I think people like to know a direction that they want in the game and not have to play a rune that they don't like because it's PvP bis.
Yeah, I mean,
or whatever.
Even I'm upset because I was having a blast with Melee Hunter phase 2 and 3, and now it's just not viable to be a Melee Hunter. Like, you're just going to be, you give the same thing that ranged hunters give, you just do it worse with worse damage, and don't have trap launcher. And, it's but I'm not butthurt about it because I know we're testing things out. I think of Classic Plus, I think you would want to have it more stable, and with, as time goes on, maybe little tweaks, but I like Ebonheart's idea of if something's super overpowered, maybe just slowly buff the other classes and let them have their time. Don't, nerfs don't ever feel good, but then at the same time, then you buff the monsters then again too, because that could be a slippery slope of all of a sudden, whoa, we're superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, even in phase 5, I mean, people were putting up Nax Ramus numbers, as far as DPS goes. And
phase 3.
Yeah, phase 3. One of the things that I noticed,
you wouldn't believe what we're putting up now.
Oh, I've seen some
3K, 2.5K.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of Bobka's stream. I think it was yesterday. I just pulled it up really quick, and he was doing like 2,500 DPS on like one of the, I think it was Kazakh or something. I'm like, Jesus, man, that's crazy.
Bobka's he's really good, man. Bobka's really good.
Yeah, I've played quite a few games of Warsong with him. He's a great guy.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah. Always,
really good players.
yeah. He's a great guy. IRL too. I remember when I first met him, I was a little intimidated. He seemed like he might be scary, but he is just the sweetest man. He is a nice dude.
Yeah, he's great, but some consistency. That's just what I'm writing home about. Some consistency and some coverage on PvP, and I think they'll get more of a return on some focus on PvP than they may realize. And hopefully we can consider some replayability of these other battlegrounds and maybe fixing Alterac Valley. I may even log into SOD and start playing some here coming into phase 5. I just got settled in moving and everything else. But
What server are you on?
I'm on Crusader Strike.
Horde or Ally?
I'm Horde.
If you like, you could join me and Bobka's guild. Bobka and Maui are the GMs. I'm one of the raid leads in there. So if you need a home, let us know.
Okay, yeah.
But okay, what else you got?
Those are the main points, man. We could go into semantics and details all day long, but from a PvP player who pretty much plays WoW exclusively for vanilla PvP and Warsong or Arathi Basin, we need to focus on these aspects of the game and the replayability. It's very important for longevity as well as in game, more than people realize. More people like it than they realize, and I think that they should experiment with the token purchases for cosmetics and everything else. But when you get I would say that to experiment with RBGs, but I think that would be better represented with a more consistent build of the classes. I don't think that it would be all that much fun right now, but I think when we get to a point where we can sort of come up with a consistent worldview of each class and spec and the runes that go with these specs, I think the game would be amazing. I mean, just amazing.
And I like the PvP. Just the PvP, incentivizing the PvP might get a lot more people in to understand that they like PvP more than they thought they did. I have a friend, Jordan Hallimanson game. He never PvP'd ever really. And wow, like it wasn't really his thing. He'd do it means to an end, Alterac Valley, and then he started queuing with us, 5-man groups, and he was like, I'm just having a blast, and if more people would try it, I think more people would find a lot more fun. Also, people just make a PvP spec. I mean, like, even if you just make it, it's going to be better than most PvE specs. Just make a PvP spec, read the talents, more defense, and wear some stamina gear, and life's going to be a lot better for you in those BGs and in World PvP. So,
yeah, you get into it what you put out of it, and it's the same thing. It goes the same for PvE 5-mans and raiding. I mean, you min max to perform your role in a raid, and it's the same way for PvP. You'll see more of a return from that, and especially the guys that they collect everything they can to get an edge. Title charm and engineering. These guys are winning because of their preparation.
Yep.
And I think that people should try to join pre-mades that maybe don't normally do so, and I think that they'll have more fun, because I think that once people get into these super high octane games and they experience that, and they experience how close these games can be, and everybody's in Discord yelling and talking really fast, and they're cheering when they win with like 20 points on the docket on AB. When they experience that, they're like, whoa, I didn't know this game could be like this.
Yep.
And that's how I got into PvP all those years ago. Was playing with these players that provided that background for me.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when PvP first came in the game. It was the original Alterac Valley, and I remember going in there on my mage, and then I ended up quitting for a month because I was like, okay, well, this is not what I was expecting. This is okay, no. And then I ended up coming back and working up a rogue instead of the mage. And then Arathi Basin came out, and I was just like, and Warsong, and I was just like, now this is where it's at. This is where it's at.
Yeah, the battlegrounds are so different too. I think in the last podcast you were talking about, you need to know your role in AV, and some roles are more important than others, and some are more boring than others.
Yep.
If you play a rogue or a druid, you're kind of ninjing towers, and mages, you're kind of you're blinking into the back line, you're AOEing all the healers down. Warlocks are they're fearing people off of the healers, and everybody has a specific role. And actually, vanilla is very exclusive to this aspect of PvP as compared to the other expansions, as they sort of homogenize the classes, I guess you would say, a little bit more.
Yep.
And I think SOD has a little bit of an element of homogenization as well, just not very defined and not very strong. But the roles go the same in Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch, but since the games get smaller, your roles become a lot more pronounced as the game size shrinks. So your role is more important, and when people mess up or they're not playing right, it's a lot more apparent than AV.
Yep.
You can make a lot more mistakes in AV than you can Basin or Gulch, and Basin is great because you have that fine line between the team fight and blasting players and then controlling the map and the nodes. And Warsong Gulch is a lot more on the side of playing the map and the objectives than it is team fighting. And I also think that's part of the reason people may not enjoy it as much, because it's not a button smashing battleground killing everybody. You can do that, but they're just way different aspects of those two battlegrounds. But I definitely think people should give them more of a try, and Blizzard should definitely bring those battlegrounds up and change Alterac Valley a little bit.
All right. Well, I think we had a good conversation. I think I'm gonna end it out there. Do you stream or do content, or do you want to shout anybody out before we go?
I don't stream or do content. I considered it and saw it, and I'm waiting for the right opportunity to do it. I'm looking for something that I can consistently like and play. Because even though I'm subbed to WoW, there's not really anything I'm committed to. So, right now, what I'm doing, I'll log on for Warsong Weekend on Era, and that's pretty much the extent of what I'm doing. I kind of want to see what Phase 5 SOD looks like. I would try Cataclysm, but I'll be honest, there's not a whole lot of room on my PC to download it, and I don't have a whole lot that I want to uninstall because I'm not sure how dedicated I would be to it. But if I were to see some serious changes in SOD, I would love to come back and play it full time and start streaming, because I know people have asked me before to stream my Warsong games because I've been about the war game feature. I mean, we've been doing this for years. We did this back before the tournaments happened. We would back in Classic 2020, we would have a Discord, and it would be a war game exclusive Discord for Warsong Gulch. And there would be, I think it was Saturdays, we would have all these people from different servers. They'd bring their team to the war game night, and we'd have like 250 people wanting to get in these games. We would have like 7 or 8 war games rolling at a time, and people would, these were super sweaty games, full consumes engineering, 40-minute games, 45-minute games, and everything like that. And I would love to see something like that for SOD, because we did run a couple of community tournaments in SOD. They were smaller. So we had a level 25 tournament with about 14 teams, and a level 40 tournament with around the same amount of teams. But we didn't actually continue it in Phase 3. We had a lot of people dropping off. But we definitely wanted to expand on these community tournaments. They were mostly just for fun. We had people that just put in a gold pot for the reward and everything else like that. But they definitely were a lot of fun. And that's, we were creating end game for ourselves. The community was creating an end game aspect for us to keep playing. And I think that if Blizzard would kind of supplement with that the community could create a lot of fun a lot of fun things with battlegrounds. You can actually war game Alterac Valley. You could have 40v40 Alterac Valley. There's a lot of different avenues that there's so much flexibility with classic PvP. It's a shame to see it kind of go the wayside.
Yeah. Well, hopefully let's hope this can help. And so no shout outs for anybody before we go?
I definitely want to shout out Bobka. I know he's still playing SOD. Maybe I'll hop on there and talk with him. But other than
definitely join us up.
Yeah, other than that, the usuals. I got my buddy, Yes Master Flag Carrier from Vampire Clan. He's tearing it up on Cataclysm Classic. He's a front page RPG player now, representing the vanilla. There's quite a few vanilla guys that are doing that right now. But this one's for the PvP community.
All right.
Of vanilla.
Sounds good. All right, and you can find me and the show live on twitch.tv/Blazzinbob or Twitter @Blazzin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.